If you've ever been overly excited for the weekend because the weather's going to be perfect and there's preseason football games, hit that like and subscribe button, folks. TGIF, happy Friday. We are back. Time to make some more money before the trading week concludes. And then we'll go ahead and hit the weekend. We got 13 in the back. Let's roll.
Welcome to Benzinga Live Trading.
Let's see if this actually kind of comes back.
Way out of control, got way too high.
All right. Hey, I will take that. I will absolutely take that.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Hope you all are doing well. We are at the end of the week, and what a week it has been. We got one more day to get through before it's enjoyment time. Let me bring on 13 and we can make some sense of what's going on. 13, how are you doing on this wonderful Friday?
I'm doing all right. Just trying to see what the market's going to decide to do. It seems like it's a bit indecisive right now, but like you said, I'm ready for the weekend. It's been a fun week, and let's book these gains and put our feet up.
Sounds good. Lion Atlas. Actually, I'm not. This stream does not start until 9:05 because we give pre-market prep the grace to go a little bit late, especially when they have guests, and I actually started this as soon as their intro stopped. So you're 0 for 1 today, Lion Atlas. We're going to save all those wins for the stock trades when we get rolling here, though. That's what's going to go. Alex, appreciate it. Please hit that like and subscribe button. That really helps us out. It doesn't cost you guys a dime and takes less than 1 second. We really, really appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and start taking a look at the market. I'm going to start with the SPY here. One of the things we were looking for yesterday was going to be a close over yesterday's intraday, or the day before's intraday highs. We talked about this candle being an inside day, and we didn't really get that. This morning, however, we temporarily traded over this level. So if I put my line right here, you can see we actually did close above that yesterday. I beg your pardon. We didn't close above the top here, but we actually closed above this first day, kind of like this average in here. And this actually goes back to, what was this, Friday? This actually goes back to the lows of Friday as well. Now, this morning we were over temporarily, but we've kind of come back in, and I see red arrows pretty much across the board. So the first thing I think we need to figure out is, do we have a down day that continues here, or is this just kind of a short-term blip? 13, I got to know, with your SPY levels, what are you looking at?
Well, yesterday I was looking at 530 and was a little surprised to see we got a close over that. So that was a bit unexpected. But still, just like I said earlier, I think we might just kind of see it chop around. Or just not really do a whole lot. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. We need to turn around and start heading lower. SPY's putting in a bear flag formation. Mm-hmm. We've been doing that ever since the beginning of August. You can draw your lines from right there and make that pattern take shape. I think that we need to roll over. I don't really think there's any compelling news that's coming out this morning from an economic standpoint. We might get some bad data or some bad news over in the Middle East. If Iran decides they're going to attack, that might happen over this weekend. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, I really don't have a good read on where this is going to go today. It seems just kind of in limbo until the market chooses a direction later today.
Okay, and that's kind of what we're going to be waiting out here. I have no trades on any of the ETFs that affect any of these markets, but I would not oppose to be taking some of those over the weekend, depending on what happens here today. So good stuff, kind of a neutral day, really not a whole lot going on so far. And frankly, we'll take that. We'll look for some of the things that we can actually trade here today. All right, let's go ahead and start with the movers, and then we can go ahead and take tickers from the chat. Would love to hear what you folks are taking a look at here today. First ticker on the list here is a no play. It's ticker ITI. This is Iteris. Iteris shares are trading higher after the company announced it will be acquired by Almavivia for $335 million. So this thing is pinned right here at 7. Looks like $7.20 per share was the actual buyout price. No trade here, but that's why it's at the top of the movers list. Now, next one here, we should have a trade here. Next one is going to be MGO. This is MGO Global. This had a monster move yesterday. So hopefully the day traders here were able to catch this one. we might be setting up for another move here today. So a couple of things. We're familiar with trading this name. We've actually seen this name go crazy pretty recently. We have a relative volumes possibility here, as this likely appeared on overnight scans for other day traders. And we really have this level right in here, 560, that we were able to break here and then back test in the pre-market. So this is going to be the level that I'm kind of focused on here on MGOL. Are we able to hold this and maybe take out 6? If so, we probably move to the upside. If we break down, there's a number of levels that this could come into, starting with the VWAP at 546, which is really only 15 cents away from where we're at. 490 would be one, maybe 430. And maybe 357, it comes all the way back. So this is the level that I'm kind of watching here on MGOL. As far as the news goes here, kind of lukewarm on whether or not this is actually causing the move. A number of the insiders yesterday were actually issued shares. So they were granted shares. So this is different because they didn't buy these on the open market. So this is not viewed as, bullish, as if the CEO said, okay, I'm going to buy stock for this company on the open market. But the reality is that at the end of the day, all of these people now have a vested interest in the company doing well. So I still think long-term, this is bullish, just not confident enough to say that, hey, this is for sure the reason the stock is trading up today, especially after the big move that we had yesterday. 13, do you have anything here on MGOL today?
Well, aside from what you had pointed out, it does have an 873,000 share float, so very, very easy to move this around. We're just getting some movement as we speak. It's actually coming down after trying to pop over 6, which is the one level that I have here. Another upside target here would be 611, and then that jumps up to 675. Between those, where we're at here and that price target that I have, there's a lot of consolidation from earlier. I believe it's this year. Let's see. No, it looks like earlier this year, back to the last time that this popped in June. So that's what I'm looking at for levels. I'm using that previous price action, and there's a lot of consolidation has to work through between here and 675. It does have an interestingly high short interest, but that's because they did a reverse split, 1 for 10 on July 18th. So there's only one day to cover now because their float is so low, but that did result in a 49.4% short interest. Okay.
Really good stuff here. MGOL definitely on the list here for today. Next is going to be KITT, KITT. This is Nauticus Robotics. This stock popped as high as 350, but has come in and actually lost the VWAP, although it's not really breaking down any further. So we have a pretty nice range here to trade. Nauticus shares are trading higher after the company contracted with Florida Atlantic University to perform development testing on the aquatic Mark II vehicle in the protected waters near the university's Institute for Ocean and Systems Engineering Dania beach facilities. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I apologize. As well as in the deeper waters of the Atlantic Ocean. So it looks like they're partnering up with Florida Atlantic University to test some of their stuff. Stock here is popping up 43%. You think this holds? You think this goes higher? Which thoughts here on KITT, KITT?
Well, it has a 2.2 million share float, so it's still easy to move around. I have some upside targets. So the first one being the pre-market highs we were getting at about, well, actually that was after hours, I think. No, it was pre-market. So anyway, 347 is what my first upside target would be. That's if we can get past VWAP, which is the price is currently under. After that, I have 445 and 5 even as the next upside targets. This also has a high short interest because they also did a reverse split on July 23rd. They did a 1 for 36, and that resulted in a 50.75% short interest in the stock as a result.
Okay. Really good stuff here on KITT. We'll see if that gets rolling here today. Next one on the list is going to be Iovance Biotherapeutics. Iovance Biotherapeutics shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q2 financial results and issued Q3 product revenue guidance above its estimates. Now, IOVA here did pop as high. It looks like it popped as high as almost 11 in the pre-market here today, but was up just around 1050 yesterday. We've lost the VWAP down here, but we're doing a pretty good job holding in. A couple of the levels that I'd be looking at is just this kind of this sideways area from yesterday's after-hour session and today. I'd be looking at maybe 895 to 950 here. It looks like would really like it to break out to the upside, but we'll keep those numbers in perspective here. What do you think here about IOVA? You think this is going to be one of the traders for us?
I'd like to think it would, but the thing is that it does have a 250 million share float, and this is going to be one of those situations where we go back to what we were seeing with Lumen, how during the regular session it doesn't trade as well as it does when it's in the pre-market or after hours. So that could be something we see here with this one today. Now, I will say that it does have a actual short candidacy. Short squeeze candidacy, because this has got a 23.5% of the float shorted, but it has 9.34 days to cover. So that's what we want to see. This could continue squeezing, but again, that float is going to be the big question mark for me and how high this goes. And that could, we were slightly below my VWAP right now, and it looks like we could initially head lower out of the gate. We'll have to wait and see, but if we turn around and start going higher, the first thing I want to see is is getting above 1045, which is the one of the highs we put in recently. The pre-market high was, like you said, almost 11, which I have at 1097. After that, I have 1140 and 1215. So if we do start to move up, those are going to be the upside targets I have for the moment. But again, it could be another Lumen where it just kind of goes sideways, up and down slightly, and then it has like a little bit of a rip midday or something, and then that's it. But I think this will end up trading better in pre-market and after hours.
Yeah, I think you're right there. The one thing I will say is about having that much larger float is that this probably represents an easier target to scale in and out of. So you might not have to get an all in, all out on a trade. You actually might be able to dollar cost average if it's still within the levels that you've identified. But stop the presses. Stop the presses. One of the stocks on the movers list is liked by Jay Rice. Has hell frozen over? What on earth is going on here? This is actually a rarity. Jay, I'd love to hear, because you like this, I'd actually like to hear what it is that you like about this. I know we generally are looking for, bigger stocks here, and maybe this one will become one of those soon. Although I joke around here, I would be very curious to know why you do like this. So if you're willing to share that with the group, please do. While we're on the subject of talking about stocks that begin with an I, we've got another one here to talk to you about that's actually not on the list because of my volume filter, and that's going to be INOD. And this is one that we've talked about on this program a number of times. This idea originated back in 2022, I believe, from the happy hour, and has produced lots of gains for the members since then. Yesterday, they reported what looked like blowout earnings for this company. Printed above 20. Looks like we're knocking on the door of 20 here today. I'm not in this. I don't have any of this. I've traded this multiple times. The first time was from like 390 to 11, and the next time was from like 6 to 9. So I've made a bunch of money on this, not in it for the huge move here. But because we've talked about this, figured I'd bring this up. These guys do AI for like hate speech recognition. Their customers are all of the big guys like Meta, Google, and all of those companies. It's just nice to see this idea, which has been around for a number of years, really start to materialize now. So that's what's going on here with INOD. 13, I know that you traded INOD a lot. I don't think that you had any of this for the print, if I recall correctly from last night. One of the things that we discussed as a group here last night is that this is definitely not a stock that you want to chase. So if you like the story here, definitely wait for some weakness. I think the group said we'd really like this between 12 and 15 if it can come back in, but we've seen this drop before. We actually saw a short report really kind of hit this thing. That proved to be an amazing potential entry. I mean, that was an absolute gift. So don't necessarily chase the green candles. Up 21% here today. Be patient. But if you like the story here, maybe add it to your watch list and take a look and see if you can add this on weakness. Did you have anything that you wanted to add to INOD? Oh, it's okay if you don't have it ready.
The big thing for that we were watching for with INOD was waiting for them to report their first 30 million or 30 million plus dollar quarter. That we finally got yesterday. So this pretty much irons out the entire expectation and thesis that we had for this entire thing. So the whole idea that encompassed INOD and trading it, and the way we did, that's all done now. So we'd have to look for I'd have to look for a new reason to get into this, because this has been a 2-year thing in the making. All that has been resolved with this recent report. So now we just kind of have to figure out where our entries are going to be if we're going to continue trading this. I do agree with that. I think 1250 seems pretty likely for a retest. So we might get that, but that whole plan, the whole thesis with this one worked out so perfectly. And I got a shout out to the happy hour folks who brought this up. This was amazing.
Yeah, this really was. So getting another move here. That's what's going on. Next here on the list is actually going to be MRIN. This is Marin Software. Now, looking at the daily chart here, this makes my stomach turn a little bit. This is kind of a rough daily chart here. But if we zoom in, we can see that this has really kind of popped and dropped recently. Now, what's going on with this today? Marin Software shares trading higher after the company announced AI-powered tool enhancements to its integrations with Redfin and X. That's what's driving this higher here today. If we look inside, you can see we popped up to about a 250 handle, found some resistance at 260, actually backed off that level now, and we're below the VWAP. So one of the things I'd really like to see here, this actually does look like we kind of came into a support level back from July 31st. Let's see if we can hold this $2 level and maybe make a move through the VWAP. 13, what do you got here on MRIN? I think you've got a little something else on this one.
Just a theory, but
let's roll it though. Let's roll it though. If you're comfortable sharing it, let's do it.
Okay. Well, so yeah, it's moving on social media integration. It's got almost 3 million shares in the float. It did a 1-for-6 reverse split on the 15th of April. So those are all the just checking those boxes for what I look at. But the thing that was interesting to me is how is what they're involved with in advertising. They have a software as a service advertising platform that collects data from all the big names and helps process that. I thought this might have been an interesting play on the weakness in Google if as a result of the antitrust case. If that leads to something where Google has to spin that segment of their business off, or has to break up for whatever reason. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but if it comes to that, that could be a really good opportunity for MRIN, since they're kind of in that similar digital advertising space. I just thought it was interesting. I was just looking at what's happening with Google, what's going on with MRIN, seeing that they kind of have a little bit of a relationship there, and just thought, hey, maybe one day MRIN is going to eat some of Google's lunch. That's about as far as I thought.
Okay. And so Brad's bringing up a point here, and we're going to kind of add to this thesis here. Brad is saying TTD is the play, not MRIN, saying that different parts of the ad ecosystem. So full disclosure here, when 13 and I hopped on the pre-show fist fight today, we were kind of talking about that. And this is not a company that I am necessarily like deep into. I didn't really understand what part of the ad ecosystem they're in. So Brad, we definitely appreciate this. Now, what I will say about that as an aside, assuming what you're saying here is absolutely correct, we've seen a number of times in the past, some of like these smaller stocks that really kind of fit into the MRIN category, they'll get tossed around on X or Stock Twits or whatever public board, Discord rooms, whatever it is, as sympathy plays when some of this news hits. So 13, all of the stuff that you were just saying there, still applicable even for short-term moves. Now, if you're looking to actually kind of play that long-term or a little bit more steady, maybe the trade desk is one to go into. I was actually looking at the trade desk fairly recently because this daily chart was showing 100 breakout here. And I've kind of been waiting for this to really kind of go and maybe put this on as a swing long. Really haven't got it yet. We'll see if this kind of changes things. Brad, I appreciate the insight here. 13, yep. I appreciate you sticking your neck out there and giving your thesis. That's the type of stuff that we want to break down here. It's going to make us all better.
Yep, and thank you, Brad. I appreciate that. I was just kind of thinking out loud when we were talking in pre-market, and so I'm glad it led to this because now I have TTD to take a look at.
Always focus on the benefits. Jay adding in here, TTD closer ties to Meta and Roku for their ad spend. Like I said, a lot of stuff going on in here, but we're going to keep our eyes on this. Now you are more informed. So when we see headlines come out about this stuff, you guys should be ready here. We already Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
One thing that we can get the tickers if you want, but one thing that was brought up when we started the show was getting asked about MSTR and why there was such a large short interest, as if it was naked shorted. And I believe that's it's just the way it was. The short interest was adjusted after they did the stock split yesterday. I don't have an updated short interest, so I can't exactly see what I think it was Jonathan Cooper who was mentioning it. I couldn't quite see the issue he was having with the float shorted percentage. Mine's showing 15.3%, but that's only because that's not for the post adjustment of the stock split. So I'd have to say the only reason I can think of as to why you're getting such a large reading is because of the stock split, Jonathan. So if anybody else you want to add to that, that'd be helpful.
So you're actually covering something here that's rather important. We've talked about the short interest here in Benzinga Pro before. Remember, our short interest is derived from the filings, so you're getting the legit short interest, and then we're making no estimation on top of that. Some of these other short interest sites that give you updated short interest on a daily or by day or every other day basis, the only way that they're able to do that is to estimate based on volumes. And so it sounds to me like what happened here is post the split, some of those calculations didn't get massaged, and as a result, it's throwing an odd value. 13, I think you're spot on. Looking at our chart here, or excuse me, looking at our data table here for short interest, I believe we are to expect an update next week on this short interest. So 13, remind me when we get that, we should cover it and see what those numbers look like. We can make a better assessment when we get that fresh data.
All right. So I hope that that's helpful, Jonathan. What are the tickers we looking at?
See, I don't know offhand, Jonathan, if Fintel estimates, but what I do know, the reason I'm confident in saying what I'm saying here is because I do know that short interest is only from like the filings, like legit short interest is only issued once every 2 weeks. Everything else that changes on a more frequent update period is estimated. Now, their estimations might be really, really good. I'm not trying to talk smack about it. I'm just saying these are the facts. Right. So that's what's going on there. Okay. Next one here is going to be Rocket Lab. This was another one that moved up here in the pre-market. We did have a catalyst here. Rocket Lab shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q2 financial results. Also, the company announced it hot fired its new I thought that said not for a sec, but then I was like, is that hot or not? Hot fired its rocket engines Archimedes for the first time. So RKLB here, Rocket Lab trading up. 560 looked to be the top here in the pre-market. We're actually below the VWAP, but not far, and it's curling, and it's coming up off of one of the support levels that it put in the after hours yesterday. Wouldn't be shocked here if this trades to the upside. 13, I know that you like your rockets in space. What do you got here on Rocket Lab, boss?
This is a short squeeze candidate, 16.16 of the float shorted and 9.27 days to cover. The float is 350 million shares, so it's going to be kind of like along the lines of, we were talking about with Lumen and what was that, IOVA. So not sure about how the price action is going to look. It's great earnings. I don't really cover this company too much, but it looks like they're doing pretty good.
Okay. I'll definitely highlight this comment here. Jay's Life saying, Ryan, that shirt looks baggy on you. Keep it up, brother. Much appreciated. That means a whole lot to me. You're actually the first person that has said anything about that over the internet. I've got a couple of comments in real life from people that have seen me in real life, but you are the first person to say that. I got to be honest with you, man, that motivates me more to get out there on the heel toe express and hit the pavement some more. So really appreciate that, Jay. Hopefully you have a great profitable day here and enjoy your weekend as well. All right. One more stock that had some action here today that I at least wanted to mention is going to be ABVE. Although I will say here, this one I don't trust. I feel like this is a pretender. Above Food Ingredients are trading higher after the company announced an acquisition of specialty crop food for $34 million. You can see this stock did pop up to $1.90, but retraced the entire move. It's trying to curl here. We'll see if this gets ready. Volume has really kind of died down on this one. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit skeptical of this. I would rather target some of the bigger names, even some of the names off this list. I think that would be a little bit better. 13, I can't remember if you took a look at this one at all, so I'm not sure if you have anything on this.
I haven't. I just would think that maybe something like this we're not really quite in the environment for something like this to do well with, you know, the consumer weakening. I'm sure they're not going to be as health conscious as they'd like to be. They'll probably just, you know, go with whatever's cheapest. That's just, you know, my initial thought here with this. Could be a good stock one day. We're about to open. We have like 5 seconds.
Okay.
But I don't have anything really to add to this.
Okay, great. No problem. Real quickly, I know you guys were talking about Huge. This is a penny stock that's really moving here. Here it is on screen. As a reminder, the stream is sponsored by Trade the Pool. So if you need help getting above the 25K day trading threshold or just need more dry powder to trade your face off, go check them out. They're awesome guys. Okay, let's see what we've got going on here. I'm actually going to flip over to Trade the Pool here and see if we can't get something rolling right away. I don't have, sorry, 13. I don't have a really good setup that I was watching like I did yesterday on Eli Lilly, which is kind of a bummer, but also kind of par for the course for Friday, it seems. I do have the same channel that we talked about yesterday on Lilly. So we'll see if this kind of is back in play here today, but I'm not going to rush it. I'm going to be tactical here today. Do see some Lilly calls coming across the board, though. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Go ahead.
Oh, just going to start rolling through these tickers. MGO trying to push up into the 570 area. KIT had a drop out of the gate, getting some support from the 65 EMA on the 5-minute at the moment. IOVA, just not a whole lot right now, stuck between the VWAP and $9, it seems. Marin, that one's starting to push up now. We're getting movement up to the VWAP. This might be turning around. If we can recapture VWAP, this could start to move up and get through the after hours high of 261.
I have that VWAP level at 227. I have the high of the day here at 224. I have some size right above at 233. With this curl here, I wouldn't be shocked if this kind of backed off the VWAP there. We'll see if it goes through on its first try. Definitely worth watching here.
Motion mentioning Disney. I don't know what's happening with that, but if you know, I'm hoping that some of the rumors I've been hearing about what's going on over there are true. Heard a lot about how they got rid of a lot of their activist producers over at Marvel. There's also talk of Kathleen Kennedy over at Lucasfilm possibly retiring, but unfortunately, she wants to retire on a high note, and I don't see how that's possible with all the crap they've been pushing out. So hopefully we'll get some management changes over there in some of these subsidiaries of Disney and maybe get some better content.
Disney here, 85 handle. I did close my short for gains on that, by the way. I didn't have a big enough position to really kind of hold on a trailer. Wanted to book gains and raise cash when the market was really kind of selling off. Worth noting here, MGOL, this did break through some of those highs. It looks like it's trying to go here, although it's pulling off of its intraday high here of 623. We'll see if this sets up again. Grats to anyone that was on MGOL. That was a really good move there. Take a look here. I did see that. Sorry, 13. I did see that Bitcoin kind of went crazy yesterday, really kind of traded up. Came back in from those after hours highs here. Maybe that gets Mara going. Sorry, 13.
No, it's okay. I was just mentioning, going to mention how your call on Emran to VWAP and reject was spot on there. So
yeah,
got that coming back in. Maybe it breaks the next attempt up there, but so far nothing happening with Emran quite yet.
Yeah, see, the thing here, this is kind of akin to Smoke Tuna's mantra of saying that, hey, we should really be buying weakness, especially in this environment. I'm skeptical of some of these moves up to the VWAP, especially on their first attempt. It seems to me that some of these stocks that do go through their VWAP, they either do it right away and it's just like, oh my God, that happened fast, or they take 2 or 3 attempts to kind of push that wall down. Emran here, you can see straight up rejected right at that VWAP. We pulled down. Now we did pull down to the support level. So buying it maybe down here, maybe not a terrible idea. I'm not sure I trust it, but maybe we'll see. I'm going to wait this out. We're 3 minutes in here. No reason to rush yet. I want to take a look at some of the other stocks that we were taking a look at. KIT is one of them.
Popped and dropped, and now it's popping again. It's this MGO's got the price action right now.
Yeah, here's Unity. They reported earnings yesterday. You know what? This would have been a decent one to set up in the pre-market. Who mentioned it? Robert, good mention here on this one. I'm not.
Iova takes off now.
I don't have a huge knowledge of Unity, but I'd like to hear from folks that use this or know more about this. What you think? IOVA, you said was going 13.
Yeah, that found a bottom around 866, turned around, and now it is pushing through VWAP, trying to get over the 65 EMA on the 5-minute. That's the next moving average that it's gotten. And after that, we're looking up at the 1045 price target. That was the pre-market high.
Okay.
Well, there was also a 1097 that we got early this morning too. But the last pop that we got back in 8 o'clock was 1045. That's where I'm looking at this to go next.
Okay, Jay here adding some under 9. What a buy, Jay. What a buy on that. Well done here. And actually, I'm thinking about playing this with you guys, but I am not going to chase that power green candle that we just had there. That does not seem like the best idea here.
Yeah. And what's up?
I'm just laughing at a comment that I really don't think I should highlight on screen. But it is funny, and I'm laughing, and I appreciate it. MGOL here, this looks like this did break the top end there, but kind of came back in towards the VWAP. So this is what you were saying about the price action here. Maybe this does go higher here.
Yeah, trying to push through VWAP
Yeah, it's
now.
trying. 590 looks to be some of that size there.
Mm-hmm. Takes that out, then that thing's probably popping over 6. Kit. Oh gosh, somebody tell Knight Rider this thing's crashing. God, I'm old.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a kid that didn't want a Trans Am that talked to me and did my. I mean, come on, I built my own Trans Am and raced it for a number of years. I would love the Knight Rider car. Oh, that's funny.
All you need these days is just an LED strip.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Let's take a look at SoundHound, right? Because maybe we could get an LED strip and some AI sound to make the car actually talk like it. SoundHound reported earnings yesterday, wild after-hour session as the stock traded up, reversed, went negative, and then today came pretty much right back to balance. Looks like we fell out from the open here, but watch this because with that catalyst behind, we get any type of volume move through the VWAP here. This might go higher. You might have a day trade on your hand.
Both Webcoin and Seahorse Trading have highlighted Nikola, NKLA.
Oh, here we go.
This is moving up on earnings.
Earnings, guys. This is I can't possibly trust this. I cannot possibly trust this. By the way, ABVE, is this curling here? Yep, we're right back at that VWAP. So remember, this was the round trip here. Back at the VWAP and rejected. We'll see if we move through it. Yeah, no kidding.
Looks like IOVA is still trying to push up. Emrin coming back, trying to recapture or trying to get back over VWAP. I don't think it's done that since earlier this morning. Viking here, Therapeutics, VKTX. Jay, this to me looks like this wants to go, right? We kind of came up off that 200, recaptured that 50. This sure looks like this wants to go. Let's take a look at Emrin. See, you guys thinking this is going to go? Do I join you guys for this one? Here, maybe we should just take a starter here. I think we're going to pop through here. I'll take some here. Let's see if we can actually move through that area. 230's got the size here. We'll see if we break that. It's looks like it's trying to happen.
It's trying. Yeah, it's trying. We'll see if we can get it.
Getting a rejection right at that same area the last time it popped.
Brad, Wiss, you guys look like you're on Emrin. Let's see if we can get it here. I kind of want to add through, but I feel like it might pull. We'll see if I can be fast enough on it.
IOVA is also pushing up higher too. Kit and MGO going lower.
Here is IOVA. Wow, Jay, that buy so far, sub 9, that was crispy. And look at this. This came right down to where it found support yesterday in the after hours. I mean, right down there. That was a really good buy. Really good buy.
Sure is, Lion Atlas, but it also makes for great trading. That's what these junk names do.
Chris, good morning. If Microsoft pushes through 406, you think it's going to 410? That could actually be a pretty decent play there. I know the pre-market prep guys were a little sour on Microsoft on valuation, which I get. in the environment, but for a trade here, kind of like that.
Okay.
Emran's still holding out here. Sorry, 13.
IOVA.
IOVA continuing to push. Just can't chase it. I guess even in this case, had I have chased it, it'd work, but rules are rules, man. Can't chase it here. Grats to anyone that is in IOVA.
Yeah, I'd like to see a breakout in Emran, and that would be good.
Yeah, indeed. And I agree with Jay here. IOVA was trading 1050 pre-market. It's got a chance to get there. We're actually seeing some considerable strength from it here. So I think Jay's spot on there. BLND, Blend Labs popping off the open here. Okay.
Let me see if I can find out why.
I'm taking a look at the scanner here. PR that came out?
Earnings.
Earnings.
They also got an upgrade from William Blair.
Docs continuing to go here post earnings. TTD, which we spoke about earlier here, this having a decent open. All green candles on that 3-minute chart and a nice move through the VWAP. Let's see if this can actually get above yesterday's after hours highs. Let's call it 95. Did they have earnings yesterday?
Here we go with Emran. Sorry to interrupt you, but here we go.
No, it's fine. I'm in Emran. I'm gonna at some point. I mean, we're gonna let's see where we go here. I missed the ad, but that's okay. Go up to 240. Let's see if we can go to 240 here. Kind of targets. Let's see. Let's look at our upside targets. 245 maybe.
Maybe scaled out because those upper shadows we were getting the previous candles were not looking great.
Yeah, I don't.
There might be some weakness. I kind of shave as we go up.
Yeah, I'm thinking about shaving too. I just don't have a whole lot, and I'm only up like not even a whole lot here. You're right on the action there. I didn't do it. We'll see if we get another push here. We'll see if that bites me. That was a really good call though. 13 definitely should have done that.
Well, so far the call of the day has been IOVA.
Yeah, no question.
And that one just was really violently up and above the VWAP out of the gate there, and doing pretty good. MGOL, let's see if it finds some support around 515. If it does, that might make it interesting.
Okay.
Blind after hitting 414, that came in, getting support from VWAP though.
I really want to see a 240 test here on Emran. That would really be great.
Ken Basil is mentioning Ogen. I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, and I'll start flipping here. Did you go all out of Emran, or are you still holding a little trailer here?
No, I'm out.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna try to get out of this so I can start flipping around.
And it might go too.
Yeah, it might. I mean, it might pop 240 here. It looks to be the level that we're pushing up to. And if we break that, I'd be outright selling into that pop there.
Yeah, because it's going. If you look to the left and see all this consolidation here, it's got to get through that, and it could. And it could really move after it does, but
yeah, and this was actually a prior support level that is now acting as resistance. You know, one of the things that I'll do here. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Nope. Did I just close? Oh my God, fat fingered this stupid thing. At least I booked that for a gain. Damn. Well, I closed the position, but at least I booked it for a gain. So we'll wait for this to set up again. Holy smokes. If it dives,
then I don't think you're going to be that upset.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And if it goes, I'm going to be like, ugh. But here's the thing. So what? Just kind of recapping there. I was actually trying to go set a stop, and I misclicked. And then when I clicked cancel, it actually clicked close, and it closed my order. But thankfully, it closed it for a gain. So folks, don't make those mistakes. Those are controllable mistakes. The one that I just made. We did pull back to the VWAP here. Let's see if we hold.
Blind is putting in a matching red candle now after that pop. That's looking pretty ugly.
Man, that's it's a bit embarrassing. I'm not going to lie, folks.
IOVA, that's still kind of holding up here. Looks pretty good as long as it can hold these levels. That it could get to the 1050 that we were talking about, that Jay was talking about. MGOL, that's going lower.
I like this one here. Jay Rice, IMNN. This is David Prince's favorite bio. Been buying on any weakness. Jay, I think what I like the most here is that we are actually setting up for a 200-day reclaim on this. It's at 15, so maybe we do have a couple of points to get up there, but sure looks like maybe we kind of take this out. We do have like a double top on the daily here at just shy of 17. Kind of like where the stock is at. Appreciate that mention. SOUN, by the way, that's bouncing here.
Ooh.
That actually is at the VWAP. Bernardo, are you out there? How did you do on this? I know you were playing this for earnings. SPY becoming leaky. Yeah, we kind of anticipated that, right? We kind of talked about that really not having closing strength above one of those levels. Maybe this does kind of return to the downside here.
Yeah, I really wasn't getting a whole lot of a read on what the market was kind of doing this morning. This kind of seemed like it was just hanging out. So I wasn't sure what we were going to get, but down seems to be the best direction. At least that's what I'd prefer. I want to see this thing get beaten up a little bit more, have a great correction. And then later on this year, we can pile into things.
It would be great if it happened this year. HNST here, this actually flirting with 4.
Sava 27.
Sava just shy of 27 here. This, to tell you what, this thing is a battlefield, the Sava. Battlefield. MGOL broke down. We'll see if this actually turns around. I'd be interested at some of these levels. Maybe 5 even could be a potential support there. Maybe a little bit less than that. 490. We'll see here in MGOL. SG, Sweet Greens. Didn't they report earnings last night? I believe that they did. We took a look at them. Come on, feed. You got to load here. What's going on? There we go. Sweet Green looks like it's trying to take another leg up. Oh, I wish my restaurants did this. I was clearly in the wrong ones. Docs was the other earnings mover that got mentioned here on Docs. That's 35.
Okay, so Emran's starting to make some interesting moves here. It's kind of fighting with
again.
Kind of fighting with the VWAP right now. Now, hopefully, I'm not in it right now, but I'm waiting to see if it holds these support levels here. These EMAs, because if it does, then that would make it interesting to me.
While we're waiting on Emran here, here's huge. This was the penny play that got mentioned earlier. Sorry we didn't cover this in the pre-market, Ken, but you're right. This is the mover here today in Pennyland so far. This did come back into the VWAP and traded higher. We'll see if it can break off that pre-market high. ADMA. Every time I see this stock, I see the name Amanda, even though it's missing some letters there. This is continuing to move. This would have been a nice little move out of that consolidation area too. Boy, I probably should have looked at this one. Day high there, 1659. There's some size. They just pulled it to the VWAP and buyers stepped in. It's kind of a low volume here, but this is moving pretty good.
Spready.
Spready indeed. Morning, Roberto. Hopefully you're doing well on this fine Friday, boss. Hera? Paramount Global, you guys are looking at any thoughts on this one? I've stayed completely out of this. I haven't traded this saga that's been going back and forth, feels like for years now. I got no angle on this. I feel like this is, I'm not good at trading it, and it's dead money on holding it, at least for me.
Yeah, I'm not really interested in Paramount or Warner Brothers.
Yeah, same. You guys are looking at ticker Skin. Sorry if I didn't cover that one yet. Oh, man, did this get halted? What a rip. Skin, halted. Second halt of the day here. High, 137. Congrats to anyone that hit this for a trade.
Earnings. They had earnings yesterday.
IOVA printing 10s. Boy, Jay, that was Jay. I got to change this. But here, we're going to get Jay needs the trifecta because that was a monster buy sub 8. This thing already 10. Jay, I know you're more of a long-term guy, but still the call out there was crispy as it gets.
All right.
TTD, maybe this is trying to go higher.
Same thing with Blend. It's still holding its VWAP at the moment. Meta,
this is going higher. Let's see if it breaks off that after hours pre-market high here on Meta. ABVE getting mentioned by Tuna. That was, oh man. So I sold this one short. I shouldn't say that because selling something short is something you can actually do in the stock market. I badmouthed this earlier when it was down, and look at the rip right back to highs here. Apologize to anyone who I might have kept out of this one. This is a great call here, Tuna.
MGOL, it's been hanging out down here, hasn't broken down lower. It might turn around. Keep an eye on it.
Maybe we get the curl here on MGOL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, IOVA definitely looks like it's going to
What a trade, guys.
give a good chance at 1050.
Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. You guys were all over this. MGO might be done for the morning. Smoked tuna not having any of it. Oh no, Seekin's cool line. Everything's good, man. That you don't. There's no smack talk there. Okay, we got more smack talk by my co-host here, putting on some disgusting green shirt this morning. If you want the actual truth, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. By the way, take a look at this. INOD. So 13. You know what makes me super happy about this is that when we were talking about the I stocks yesterday, IPWR, which has had great news the past 2 days, and then INOD, which reported earnings, we said specifically on these stocks, especially, do not chase those green candles. Look what's happening here on INOD. Blowout earnings, and it's almost retracing the entire move. Be patient on these. Don't chase the green candles. I'm sitting here wishing I bought IOVA, which this is serendipitous, but it starts with an I. I'm sitting here saying, oh, boy, I missed this. I'm not going to chase these candles because if this thing pulls back, I'm going to add it then. Not doing it. Not chasing green candles. Not chasing green candles, folks. EXFY. Oh, that was the wrong. I don't even know if I've ever pulled this stock up before. Actually, this does look like this is trying to break. This intraday formation looks like this is trying to go higher here. Expensify? Are you kidding me? I feel like there's EXFY. I feel like there's FI companies for everything. Shopify, Spotify, Expensify, Travelfy. I mean, it's just like there's for everything. Gamify. Yeah, I'm done ranting. Get off my lawn.
Soundhound still moving up. It's got a wall at 521 that it's trying to chew through, and goodbye.
By the way, JP Morgan has a 250 price target on this EXFY. Here's sound. That keep ripping. Bernardo, where you at, bro? This has got to be rolling.
All right. Emeren went lower.
So glad we sold. Cool. TTD back at the after hours highs here. TTD. That would have been a decent buy two out of the gate here. We've got a couple of these that have worked.
Money Lucify. That's a good one. CLOV, sorry about that, is being requested. Take a look at this. Looks like that, what is going on here? I'm not seeing the news. They had earnings on Monday. What is this? Not quite sure what is moving on then, since that was a while back. What's the question here? That it's up almost 10% on what seems to be very little. Why am I not getting enough readings on this? I'm sorry, I don't have enough on Clove to give you an opinion on it. It doesn't look like it's really doing a whole lot at the moment either.
IOVA might be rolling back over to the VWAP. BLND, did that keep rolling? No, actually so BLND, this actually looks like this might try and go here. I know that this is up kind of a lot already, but man, 382. I've got size at 388. This looks like this wants to go higher, folks.
Let's see, you've got F5N and PRTA. Let's see what's going on with those. 5.9 is headed down on what appears to be.
Is that ticker 5?
Earnings.
Did you say?
FIVN.
F5. Okay, 5N. Sorry.
Yeah. So weak guidance, got a downgrade, going lower.
Nursing a double pneumonia. God, Bernardo, I get well soon, brother. I hope that you are able to shake that as soon as possible.
Here we go. Emeren.
Nice job fighting through it. Sorry, Emeren.
Emeren's trading back above VWAP.
Right back through that VWAP.
And MGOL was doing a little bit better coming off that 65 EMA, but It does not look like it has the volume right now to go too high. So I would expect it to start getting rejected here, maybe at the VWAP. That's MGOL. And I could be wrong, and a big old buyer might just come in and take this thing up. But for the moment, it doesn't look like that's happening.
That's what makes a market, boss.
Yep.
That's what makes a market. Emrin continuing to move. Let's see if it takes out this high here. 240. This was the spot we really wanted this to break earlier when we were in that trade. Now let's see if we end up getting it.
Yeah, it might pop up to, if it does break through that, it's going to pop up to like 245 and maybe even 254 where there's a bunch of sell orders. Saba also moving up. That is trying to break out of the intraday highs as well. It might be doing it right now. There's a 200 EMA right in the way that it's trying to get over, and it's now slightly over it. Saba might move.
Saba needs to take out its day high there. HNST might be setting up for another move. This came back into its VWAP here. Looks like it's holding it so far. I'd like to see this volume really kind of start to expand out here. That would really be helpful. Sound, by the way, continuing. Bernardo, it's doing it just for you, bro. It is continuing to move to the highs here. Really good stuff there.
And that was a great mention on MGOL. I'm going to have to pat myself on the back for, because now it is breaking down.
Look at that. So this is one of the just kind of going back to the discussion about buying weakness and not necessarily buying breakouts and strength. It's one of the things that we're kind of running up against, right? So you either want to preload that move and be able to sell at resistance. It's part of the reason why I was looking out for that 240 area on Emrin, although I messed it up anyway.
This is, this has not been too crazy to where we're going to get trapped in some of these. This has been giving us so many opportunities to get in and out without without losing our hats. This has been great this morning.
Yep, sure has. Disney here going lower. Kind of still wish I was in some of those puts.
Yeah, another thing we were too early out of, but hey, the thesis was great, and hopefully other people are making money off of it.
Don't see anything blowing up here on FinTwit. See AMD getting mentioned. That's rolling over the how are the generals, as pre-market prep was saying? How are the Mag 7s doing here? Nvidia at the lows. AMD was near the lows. Apple looks like it's getting ready to roll over here. How about Tesla? I haven't seen Lynn and Randy mention Tesla yet, so maybe we don't have a whole lot of action there. Nice little move off the bottom here and move back to VWAP.
Yeah, all of the Mag 7s are green today so far.
Yeah. Nvidia is breaking that low a day there. Is Mara getting rolling here? Mara's pounding the lows here.
Bitcoin's been falling all morning.
Yeah.
Shot up to 62,773 and turned around. It was nice to see it get up to that 60,000 level, though.
Look at this move on Emrin. This was the move through 240 that I wanted to sell into initially. And given the pullback that came, there's no way I would have held through that. I would have stopped out of it. So I don't feel as if I missed this. But one of the things that this is telling me here is that this is not done. Yeah, we are still seeing some action here. I'm not going to buy the green candle. Let's see if this comes back in towards 229. Maybe give this a VWAP test.
Yeah, 260 is the next upside level here. That's technically 261. That's from after hours yesterday. We break that, I think 3 is on the table. Okay, Saba with the big knife there.
Akamai continuing to move higher here. Ticker AKAM. Did they have earnings? Maybe. Yep, sure did.
Blend Labs still kind of hanging out here, trying to maintain that VWAP.
Oh my God! I'm asleep at the wheel. I'm asleep at the folks.
Wasn't this your trade idea?
Yep, we could have doubled up on Lily. We smoked this thing yesterday, and it was a perfect to the plan. And look at what took place today. I was just flipping around too much. This is exactly the trade plan that I'm looking for with this setup. I actually gave this setup out to the Trader TV crew yesterday as well. This is money. We broke the top end of the range. We back tested the range. Also happens to correspond with VWAP. Oh man, it made it even easier. And now it's moving towards the highs. Watch for a breakout here and a move higher on Lily. This was, we could have done it again, 13, and I just missed it. That is,
That's all right. But hey,
So
Emran,
I should start setting more alerts. But anyway, keep going.
Emran is making a big move here, trying to get up to that 260. We're above 250 right now, trying to hold it. We get above 260, like I said, I think 3's on the table. We might get some pullback here too. Sorry.
This was a great call. This is also going to go for the trifecta today. Here's Smoke Tuna shout out. You were on Emran from the beginning here. Another big move here. Great stuff. Great stuff. Wiss, you're on this. Let's go.
Lumen getting a mention here after falling out of the gate. It's been slowly moving up, and now we're trying to get above these pre-market highs. Looks like
hey, nice.
Yeah, it looks like 550 is the level to get over. It popped up to that and came back in, but that's the level to get over. It seems right now.
Nice. By the way, SOUN. Speaking of the whole buying weakness, SOUN pulling back here actually went beneath its VWAP. Let's see if we get a reclaim here. I've got its VWAP at 510. On SOUN, had a nice little move off the lows there higher, but now we're pulling back. Let's see if it can hold 5. Ooh, okay. Sorry for talking about you. See if it holds 490. There's some size down there. I mean, I feel like I literally did that. I mean, I know I didn't, but I feel like I did.
All right.
See if it holds this 490 spot. There is some size between 487 and 490. If it can hold that, maybe we bounce here. SOUN.
MGO and Kit still headed down. Iova got as high as 1016. That's going back in currently around VWAP right now. I'm
going to roll through some of those tickers. Here is your IOVA. Here's Clove. You were saying Clover Health, right?
I don't think I mentioned. No, it was MGO, Kit, and IOVA.
I'm sorry.
And here we go with Emran breaking over that 260. See if it can hold and take us to 3.
Emran going. Nice job here.
Also getting a mention Clover Health, NBO.
Emran breakout. Tuna, you called it.
Yep.
Good one here. Unity actually back tested its VWAP and ran. Sound, by the way, still testing that 490 area. We'll see if that turns around here. That might be a decent trade. Clove's not doing anything. You guys are spamming it. Clove's not really doing anything. Volume not really impressive here. It is holding above that 20-day, and it's right at the VWAP right now. I don't really see anything here. Size at 192 if it can take it out. Evolent Health. This looks like this moved on earnings, lost its VWAP. We'll see if that strengthens up a little bit.
Emran coming back down to find support around the 250 area. Maybe it actually gets it close to the VWAP, which I currently have at 238.
Jay here saying Meta red to green. Like I said, the cheapest of the Mag 7, almost all pullbacks getting bought here. Meta, good stuff there, Jay. Appreciate you giving that to the group over and over. TTD looks like this is going to try and go higher. I'm still interested in a move over 100 here on TTD.
I still think that these CEO sales are telling you not to chase and get into up here. I mean, Zuckerberg was selling this yesterday, 2 days ago.
Which is exactly why I'm not front running these, because I've learned my lesson. HNST took out 4. Let's see if this goes higher.
Yeah, we also saw some selling in other companies as well. Amazon CEO sold this week. That's Harrington, by the way, not Bezos. He's not the CEO anymore. Also had NVIDIA's CEO, Huang. How do you pronounce his name? I know I'm getting that wrong. Is it Huang?
I think that, I mean, I'm not any type of authority on Asian languages, so someone correct me if I'm right, but I'm pretty sure it's Huang.
Okay.
I feel like that's how Tom says it. He lives over there, so would imagine he's pretty good about that. Taiwan, anyway.
Yeah. So
HNST really kind of slowed down once it got to this area here. Emran's still flirting with 250,
and also Pikai sold as well. Google CEO. So 4 of the Mag 7's CEOs have sold this week after their stocks have been recovering. So that's a flag to me.
We love you too, Rafiki, and I do like your name. Anything that ends in iki, like Tiki, Rafiki, that just sounds cool to me. Sounds like tropical. So I'm all for that. Emran Tuna, I like this comment. Watch for big pullbacks. We might be able to get a chance to buy. That's kind of what we're waiting for. Wait for that weakness. Nice job, Lion, booking gains on that. Market Sniper sees bids below Emran, so maybe we do get that bounce. By the way, INOD bounced 1.5 off 17. I didn't really have 17 identified as a level, so I think it's kind of, I'm not really sure you could say that this would have been a good one. But this is moving. Let's see what it does at VWAP. A little bit spread here, a little bit light on the volume, so keep that in mind.
Well,
Chris, what I like is how you just occasionally chime in with this, Disney lore add-ons or insider stuff. It keeps us on our toes here. Rafiki's a sweet name, no doubt.
that was the monkey, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I'm not. I don't watch Disney movies. I don't know anymore. But
Lion King
you
was
have kids.
the original
you have
classic.
kids, so
Yeah, but I watched Lion King when I was younger.
I saw it in the theater. That's how old I am. LUMN, this trading to the highs here. We'll see if that takes out 6. This was a great call in that Lumen reversal, by the way.
Yeah, it's better volume than we've been seeing out of Lumen.
I see some of the really good traders that I follow on FinTwit saying that today is kind of a tricky day. So that tells me 2 things. Number one, if you guys are on task, awesome. You're ahead of the game. If you have gains booked already, better still.
Yeah. BLND, that one looks like it's about ready to make a move through some of these sell order walls. It certainly looked like it's trying to push. We just need to see some volume expansion here, and I think it can get through those.
Which ticker did you say? I'm sorry.
BLND.
Blend. Right. Actually, you're right. Maybe we do break out of this flag here. You're right on that one. Dr. Manred, you're not old, you're seasoned. Let's go. That is awesome. Let's go. Jane saying, personally, I think the whole week has been tricky. Yeah, I mean, it's been a good one. I'll be honest, though, it's been less has been more again. And that can, for active traders like us, that can definitely feel like a more tricky environment. There's no question.
Well, I'll say this. If it is, the whole week has been tricky. This chat's been killing it. They're a bunch of magicians.
Yeah, sure has. Hey, real quickly here, Glenn. Did I get that right? Yeah, Glenn. Any levels on ALP? Let's take a look at this. If we have a trade here, please feel free to interrupt me. But let's take a look at ALP because, yes, Glenn, there are some levels that we should really pay attention to here. So I know ALP is down 13.6% today. Totally get if you want to let this kind of shake out here. Makes a lot of sense to me. The reason why I think you folks should keep this on your watch list at least for the next several days here. What do we do about this 200-day, right? Because here's the thing. We've been talking about a potentially weakening consumer and a tightening economy and this, that, and the other. From what I understand, I'm not a makeup expert, but I consulted some of the makeup experts that are in our chat and the happy hour. And they were saying to me that this is going to be one of those cheaper brands, things that you're going to find at like Target and stores like that. And to me, it seems people aren't going to stop wearing makeup. I'm not stupid enough to believe that. So I think that if people are making a trade down from, let's say, stuff that they find at Sephora, maybe they go to Target and buy e.l.f. products. It's kind of like the macro thesis set against the backdrop of a weakening consumer. But if we focus on the stock here, we just lost the 200-day. Look at what happened the last time this happened, Glenn. Look at what happened. We lost it temporarily. Took us a couple of days to really kind of test the area. And then when we broke through, bro, this didn't even look back until recently. This went from 103 to the highs of 220. It was more than a double. And it took the date here, November 2023 till August of 2024 to retest that line. So, Glenn, any levels? Really, the only one that I'm concerned about at the moment is what do we do? Do we reclaim this 200-day? Because if we do, you might have a pretty decent swing long opportunity here. You might have a pretty decent thesis along with this one. And furthermore, no matter depending on how you buy it or what your time horizon is, if we're actually able to trade up and maybe take out some of these moving average levels, that gives you areas to book some gains. So you can maybe hold this trade a little bit longer. So Glenn, I really appreciate you bringing this one up. The level here that I'm looking at is 165. More specifically, closes above that 200-day. Curious to know if anyone else has any levels on this. I think maybe if we keep selling off, I think maybe we get some support here at 142. 14, what say you? Or 14, oh my God. 13, what's...
He's over there.
Oh, that's right. There actually is a 14.
So with ELF, I'm looking at the daily chart. You could even look at the weekly, and you can see that this is a double top here. So this would imply that there's more downside ahead. Now, if you look at the weekly, we are testing the 50-week SMA. Last week we bounced off it. This week we opened beneath it, and we're trying to recapture it after getting rejected from the 20-week SMA. So, to me, when I look at this chart, I think that there is going to be more downside ahead. I think that you have a better shot of maybe looking at a bounce around just under 140. But I don't know how low this goes. It could go even lower than that. But that would be like one of the earliest support levels I see with ELF.
Okay. So I would say that this 157 is also, just to kind of recap, because his question was about levels. He said, thank you. You're welcome, Glenn. Just regarding levels here, it looks like that 50 week at 157 is going to be important, but then also that 200-day there at 165. Curious to know how you trade at 13. You're absolutely right about the double top here. But even so, I mean, if we reclaim here at 165 and we make a test for that triple top, that'd be a really good area to kind of peel some of that off, book some gains, and see if you can keep a trailer on. This is actually not a bad one at all. Now I'm gonna keep watching ELF. Keep bringing up the beauty stocks. Let's do it.
Just keep in mind the potential downside here. We could go lower, maybe even down to 100 if we're going to see a full resolution of this double top.
Okay. BLND looking like we're testing. Here we go. Do we even try this? Oh, we don't want that much. Do we try this right here? Blend is trying to go. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a high rate. If this pulls back, I'm just going to take the loss here. But let's see if BLND can bust here. The high stick here is 415. Really, I'd like to see what it does around 4. Little bit of size here at 393 and 395. This high risk, this entry, not great. Would have liked this a little bit lower here in a 370 handle, maybe towards that 377. But we're going to give it a shot. It's a Friday.
Volume's getting better, but it needs to actually really start to expand in order to get through those walls you were talking about there. Because I see more than just the 93, 95. I see 406. Here we go. We're starting to get some movement.
Yeah, let's see if we can get up there. I really want to see if this can go to 4. Nope, pulling back a little bit. Let's see.
So that's the whole thing with BLND. We really need to see that volume expand to get through those sell orders.
Okay, it's going to come back into VWAP here. There is some buying there at VWAP, or some offers down there at VWAP.
Not suggesting that anybody get into this, but just if you want to take a look at MGOL, that one looks like it's trying to turn around, but it's slow going at the moment. IVOA making another shot at 10. That has rebounded after selling off, going down to 935, finding some support.
Of course, he meant IOVA, but here we go.
What did I say?
IVOA. It's okay. It happens all the time. And Emran now beneath VWAP. That went up to 272. I didn't. That was a real quick move. I didn't even know that happening. Definitely want to answer this question here from Tom. Interrupt me if you need to. 13. Okay. Tom says, I have never really used the 200-day. I usually use the 9 and 20 and the VWAP, and it seems that you guys use that constantly. Can you explain a little bit? Yeah, I can here, Tom, and this is actually a really good observation, because there's a huge part of this that is absolutely correct. First of all, and 13, I'd like to get your opinion on this. It might be different than mine. Those 9, 20, and VWAP, those are going to be much shorter term indicators. Right. So if you're playing things like a shorter time horizon trade, maybe a short swing, maybe an overnight or a week long trade, you're probably going to get better data off of the averages that you just mentioned here. Blend trying to pop here. Again, I'm kind of watching this out of the corner of my eyes, so forgive me if I get crazy or if I trail off here. But as far as the 200-day, I mean, we are seeing a potential reverse in trend. Like a lot of these stocks were just pumping to highs. I mean, the AI craze, and you saw Nvidia and SMCI triple in some cases. And now that we're starting to see possibly a reversal of that, maybe a pullback across the entire market, it behooves you to start to look for some kind of longer time horizon trend lines. And the 200-day is an extremely, what do I want to say here? A highly used, frequently used support level. The other thing is that if we're looking for some support, you're likely to find some support after something that's taken a long time to really kind of firm up there. So a lot of this has to do with the environment and the types of stocks that we're looking for, coupled with the time horizon. This is a really good question, though, because I think that sometimes we're constantly throwing out different indicators and moving averages that we use without necessarily going into the why we're choosing this one over the 7,000 other choices that you may have. I think this question's pretty good here, Tom.
Yeah, so for me, when I use a 200-day SMA, it is a lagging indicator, and it's not something I typically use for day trading. I use EMAs for day trading. Where the 200-day SMA comes into play with making day trades is that it is it's something that I look at frequently for longer term moves. But typically what happens is when a stock that we're looking at lagging indicators with moves down to the 200, that has frequently been a major moving average that provides support and has provided resistance. So we look at it as sort of a level. And a lot of times we can get into good intraday trades by looking at that level and seeing if on a daily chart, seeing if it's actually trying to bounce off of that level, because that will provide some great day trades as well. But again, it's not something that that I'm typically using for day trades, but for longer term moves and investing. And now we're also getting a push up here from BLND.
Yep. Let's see what we do at 4 here. I really want to see if it can take that size out. If it can't, I'll probably just peel this and book the small gains that I have. Tom, let me know if that's helpful for you at all, if you have any follow-up questions. Also, really appreciate the chat chiming in here. That stuff is always helpful.
Robert and Jay, yeah.
Yeah, 9 and 20 day I use for active trading, 200 more for longer term trading. That's pretty spot on. Robert hitting this one here too. 200 days like a line in the sand. I always set alarms and use it to find entries. Can also be used for targets, as Glenn was mentioning here. So really good stuff here from the group.
Yeah, a lot of retail and institutional chartists. They look at that moving average. They look at the 50. Sometimes they look at even the 20. These are frequently used moving averages. So as long as we're all looking at the same thing, we're all probably thinking similar things as well. Yeah. That helps the stock move around.
Learn with Moses saying, remind me, what was your take on Huge for today? Huge was the penny stock of the day. I don't necessarily have a take on it because I don't trade those penny stocks, but this was clearly the one that had all of the action. You had really good higher lows on this one too. And obviously here it is pumping to the highs. So Chris also mentioning regarding that 200-day comment that we were just doing, that is the golden cross. We've talked about that quite a bit here. Mm-hmm. Here's your definition. Golden cross occurs on a stock chart when the 50-day average moves up towards and crosses it, known as a bullish, and obviously a bearish on the inverse of that as it crosses beneath it. So really good stuff there, guys. Come on, Glenn, you going to go to 4 here or what?
Spiro Bill, you're referring to my EMAs. Do I use them for like pre-market and after hours? They extend into that. Yeah, they're coming off of that. I'm using like smaller time frames when I day trade.
I tried to set up a automated trade here, so if this pulled back, I could book some small gains, and then if it popped through 4, I could sell it on a target price. As I was doing that, it pulled back, so we're out of blend, but we're out of there with a gain. It's just not worth mentioning because it's so small. We're kind of chipping away here today. We'll see.
Have some good trades. This kind of seems like the volume's drying up.
Lion Atlas saying Ryan and 14. Oh man, that Freudian slip, man. I'm sorry about that. Lion Atlas is going to give it to us though. Asking about Micron here. So Micron, I kind of chuckle because I want to say because of what I'm about to say here. But real quick, let me show you what's going on here, Mike. Maybe you were setting me up for this line. I don't know. Micron here you go. We actually have a Fibonacci retracement drawn on this from its recent move from the lows to the highs here. And you can see a mega clean bounce off the 0.786 fib level. Guess what? That 200-day is going to be one of your next targets here. We'll see if this can actually come up to it. I've got that 200-day slightly above the 0.618, which is the golden ratio on those Fibonacci retracements. So as long as MU can hold in here, I think I like this higher. Would love a reclaim of that 101 level there. But so far, this looks like this is bouncing off the 0.786, which also corresponds to a consolidation level. MU looks good here, frankly.
Yeah, I'd want to see that get back above 100. All right. BLND still trying to do something, but man, like I keep saying, it needs that volume expansion, and we're getting a little bit more of it. It's just not enough. It's just not enough. Ogen, that is man, I shouldn't even mention that. It's the volume so small, but whatever.
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah,
Tom,
absolutely.
That's exactly right. That's what we try to do here.
Oh yeah, PRTA. I don't think I ever looked at that when it was mentioned. That also had earnings.
That's just kind of holding sideways here, PRTA, CDLX.
Take a look at something here.
Ooh, CDLX, this was a big move here. Did this have, let me check the news on this one. I don't think I had this earlier. Oh, earnings. Okay. Earnings last night.
I'm
That
not
was a
trying
delayed reaction. Sorry, 13. I'm just talking out loud here.
Yeah, I just looking at PRTA. I was just going to say something on it, but I don't even know if it's worth mentioning what I think about it. It looks like it could make a move later on. Well, it's making a move now. It could make a move later on today, but I don't know what direction that's going to be. The volume is just really thin right now.
MGO, you guys are on top of this. I love it. You guys keeping your eyes on targets that can potentially be good trades later in the day. MGO came right off that curl level and rocketed on volume through that VWAP. We'll see if it goes higher here. Good shout for the group. Good shout for the group. Emrin, Smoke Tuna, you were mentioning Emrin here. Does look like maybe it's slowing down to the downside. Maybe we get, this actually was a kind of a consolidation area from the pre-market bottom end of that range as well. Here you go on MU. Joe saying a short-term double sell signal on MU today at 94.06 high. It's going to 85. Okay. So there you go. You're actually getting a call here from Joe. Maybe a move back down here to 85. Boy, that would just kind of retest this low. That would retest the low that we've had. So it looks like you're saying that bounce is going to kind of fizzle its juice and return back to the low.
Fizzle its juice.
I mean, I just said something there. If you guys, now that you've reset it slower, maybe I shouldn't have. Palantir, maybe this is going to go higher here. Take out those pre-market highs. 29 looks to be the spot here. Excuse me. 29.80. Yeah, sorry about that. 29.80, 29.75 seems to be your spot. 29.78, the exact high of day print on Palantir.
Well, we're over 29.50.
Look at Lily. Gosh, look at, oh my Lord. Lily giving the trades. Lily giving the trades. But you know what? I'm going to put Lily in a different window so that when I look away from it, I don't completely forget about it, because that's twice. That's twice now. 900 seems to be the high of day print there on Eli Lilly. We'll see if we take that out. I think if it does, it goes higher though. IOVA still holding above a 10 handle on IOVA. That was a monster call from you guys.
If it can continue holding here, it looks like it might end up getting that 1050.
Staying quiet and taking it easy today, but CDLX. Hey, Lynn, you know what? If you guys had a great week, no sense in getting wild and giving it back, right? Keep those gains in your pocket.
Ooh.
And I know you haven't said it, but I know you're thinking it. Yeah, I'm waiting for the hockey season to start too. I can't wait. Cannot wait. CDLX has been a huge move here today. Here is huge. Speaking of huge, this penny stock, man, wild stuff here. Continuing to move higher. Smoke Tuna saying Emeren might go lower here, so not, does it look like it? And you know what, Tuna, it looks like it found some resistance right there at the VWAP.
Yeah,
this does kind of sink back in.
and GOL went back underneath VWAP after popping to 570. I'm sorry, 581, 581.
Let's revisit our old friend GL, the money printer lion. Is that what you want to call it? That, man, I remember when we first looked at this, when the short report came out, we were watching this thing trade around in a 59 handle. You're looking at it here today, and it's $92. $92. I mean, man, oh man, this was such a good buy. You guys were all over. I ended up not taking this. Might be the worst miss I had at 2024 because you guys were all over it. We talked about it, and I didn't buy it in either account. I could have taken just a couple of calls and I'd have banked off this one. Man,
I remember you just mentioned how this is a moneymaker, and that reminded me of Crow trading root every day for a while.
Yeah,
that actually looks like this is the root's gonna start heading lower because I don't know if you would call this a triple top or a double top, but it looks like it at about 86.50-ish to somewhere between there and 87. That looks like it's been topping out there, and we are reversing now on the daily, so could end up going lower. This doesn't look like it has a great formation on the chart. It looks like this looks like it's going lower. All right, blend. What is that doing? Oh, that one finally broke down beneath VWAP. Just not enough volume in that one.
Which one?
Blend, BLND.
Blend.
Yeah, that broke down beneath VWAP. Just couldn't get the volume expansion it needed to get through those levels we were talking about. Now it's rolling over. MACD's showing it's rolling over.
Jane, I'm sorry to hear it. Next week is a new week. Cauterize the wound. We'll be back at it next week. Also, try and enjoy your weekend. I know it can be tough after a rough week.
A lot of sideways action right now.
Yeah, it sure is. And you know what else? If we take a look at the market here, so we saw the market really kind of showing some weakness. Now it's traded back up, but it traded right back up to this resistance area, which is right along the top of these candles here. And that's where we started to get that sideways area. So not saying it can't go through it. Maybe it can, but we haven't done that yet.
Apple new high days, says Christopher.
LGVN? Is that coming back? Really? That is, I see what you're saying. So you're, Tuna, already thinking about next week. God, you just love that type of dedication and preparation. Saying this is at a support level, 50-day moving average, really right on it. Maybe this does get rolling next week, Tuna. You can see that this stock has a nice little history of it kind of comes into levels and it pops. And it comes into levels, pops. Maybe it does it again. We shall see.
Are you also playing for maybe a rally into earnings since they have that on Wednesday? That also something that you're looking at there with LGBN?
I'm not playing it. I was just highlighting the comment here because Tuna's trying to give it to us before the move. And that's what I really appreciate for the group. The group can profit off of that if we do get that anticipated move. By the way, Eli Lilly just printed 900s here. We'll see if it goes higher. Sorry, 13. What was that?
I was trying to ask Tuna.
I'm sorry.
No worries. You're okay, dude. It's fine. No, I was just kind of curious because that's coming up for LGBN as they have earnings after the market close on Wednesday. So I'm just kind of curious if we're seeing maybe a rally into the earnings print next week. Oh, hey, Jay Michael, you got it. You're doing it right. You're doing it right. Enjoy that pulled pork, sir.
Ooh, Jay Michael, I have to smoke a couple of pork butts for a bridal shower this week. That doesn't sound like a bad spot to be in. I'll be honest with you. That actually sounds delicious. Eli Lilly back above 900 here. MD, man, we have reviewed Clove a number of times. We've taken a look at this a number of times today. There's nothing going on here. It is literally low volume, just kind of trading sideways. If it starts to move, yeah, we'll take a look at this. This stock literally has a 7-cent range today. 7-cent range and low volume. There's nothing going on here, boss.
I'm curious. Maybe there's, it was had a move off of earnings. It looks like it's had a lot of movement. When was earnings? The 5th. So yeah, I think that's probably why he's asking. Ever since they reported on the 5th, this thing has been just whipping around like crazy comparative to its previous days.
Until today, when it's got a 7-cent range.
I guess. I mean, I'm just kind of trying to figure out.
I know.
Why,
I'm just saying. I'm not sure anything's going on with it right now. Here's Kit. We'll see if this can come back and reclaim the 200-day.
Shoot, guys.
Did we just go to the Friday dry up early? I mean, gosh, it's 10:30.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
PT.
Everybody's like, I guess they're all taking off to go smoke their pork butts.
Whoa.
What's happening?
No, you said taking off to go smoke. I thought you were going to say something else, and then you dropped pork butts on the group. So not a bad thing, honestly. Yeah, the other thing, folks, here, just kind of looking at the schedule here today, just preparing you for the shows here. It's 10:30 at the moment. At 10:47, we're actually going to be going to Zunaid for a very quick all access. And when the all access is done, we're going to come back here for Anne Marie and then options trading with Sandy. So we're going to have a full slate here for you. We're adding in an all access for Zunaid that happens in 17 minutes. 17 minutes.
Emran had another volumetric move here about 2 minutes ago.
Ooh, and back above its VWAP.
Mm-hmm. So kind of watching to see if this is going to make some moves.
MGOL at a spot where it rocketed last time. Not saying buy it here, but this is where it was the last time it had that big volume push. Go back to Emran.
Yeah, Joe, I'm kind of wondering if maybe there are a lot of bag holders in XPEV, and those are just covered calls. They just want to try to get as much as they can. That's just a guess, but China stocks haven't been doing well.
MGOL done for the morning. Ryan killed the move. Hey, man, my shoulders are wide. You can blame me for all of it. Lion Atlas, Ryan in 13. I'm adding to FMC anytime it dips under 60. Okay, yeah. Well, you almost had an opportunity to do that here today. I'll tell you what, that had a really good move on its earnings. Has been down ever since. Just really giving it up. We got some time on that one, though.
Yeah, it looks like Emran's trying to move a little bit higher.
ALDX setup. Maybe this pushes away from the VWAP there, Tuna. Which, Joe, what are you talking about here? Joe, Benzinga, where did you find that option trade trio you had on Monday? What? After you finished up, they were recommending buys and stuff that had RSI readings of 90. I have no idea what you're referring to, Joe. I'm sorry, man. No clue. Smoke Tuna mentioning MGOL has run for most of the whole week, so it's not Ryan's fault. Tuna, backing me up here. You love to see it.
Emran really having a hard time getting that movement going. Still above VWAP though.
Oh, yeah, Eli Lilly's still flirting with that $900 level.
Yeah, MGOL with new intraday lows. This MGOL might, some of the ones that we were talking about this morning, they probably will leak throughout the morning into
Yeah.
the lunch hour, and then maybe after that you could see some turning around and having them
sorry.
come back up. Oh, go ahead.
EXFY continuing to go higher here. Tesla continuing to go lower. Apple at the highs. How's Nvidia doing?
They're all up.
Lows. How's SMCI doing?
That thing hit
SMCI, it's
350 yet?
trying hard to regather 500. They're trying hard.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if it had hit 350 yet.
Christopher thinks IWM may test low D. Sure looks like that's rolling over to that here. Boy, look at that pullback that we had on the IWM. Gave up all of that, came all the way back into that 200 day.
Yes, the 200 day that we just talked about.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, this
Almost
thing looks
as
like it's
if
going
we had a reason for it.
It looks like there could be a 50-day SMA rejection on IWM. We're putting in a bit of a bear flag with this. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing here. We're going to be testing the 200-day SMA again at some point with the IWM, I believe. And when I say at some point, I'm talking soon, not from here until infinity. Obviously, that's going to happen.
Let me see. How much time do we have? Got enough time. Let me see if I can figure out what some other traders are looking at here. See, the first three tickers I see, huge, Marin, ALDX. Oh, Serve. Serve might be worth what we've been trading Serve recently. Let's see. Maybe. CMG is up. We booked those calls, by the way.
Good morning,
on
Walter
CMG.
Bryant. BTC going south hard. Yeah, under 60 now.
Amanda, I think they are talking about Zunaid's segment from Monday. I only listened to Anne Marie's options. The last time I did someone else's, I ended up with a 20 stake in a leggings company. Well, hopefully they made good leggings. I mean, damn. I have no, guys, I don't know. And that's the other thing. I know I work here and I know I talk to all these people, but I cannot possibly remember all of the different plays and trades that people talk about. So if it didn't come directly from me, I'm probably not gonna be able to help you.
But there are videos on the channel that you probably might be able to go back on Monday and look and see if what those were. So if we can't remember, we're sorry, but we do have a record that you can check out.
Correct. Appreciate you, 13.
No problem. And everybody's mentioning Emran, right? Well, not everybody, but Emran's getting a mention. That's moving up a little bit more now. Still, as it was pointed out, there is some pretty stiff resistance, but it's trying.
Simon Property Group. This was a Chris Horsman question, and we asked Tim Melvin about this. Remember, his response was love, love, love it. Best in breed here. Higher still on SPG, although I don't see a new trade here. Continuing to move higher in the direction that you wanted.
Boeing was getting mentioned too, that it's heading lower. Really think if you're trading this at all or trying to go for an investment at some point with this, I think it really bears worth watching what's going on with that Starliner space vehicle that has stranded 2 astronauts up at the ISS. I think that's going to really weigh heavily on Boeing, because space is the next frontier for a company like Boeing. They already make they make airplanes and have this defense contracts and all that, but getting into space with and sending people to space and space transportation, that's all seems like that's the next frontier for a company like this. SpaceX really killing it with that too, by the way.
BA here, 160 is a former support level. We're currently at 167, so I'm not sure if you're thinking about a trade there, but that's something to keep in mind.
That's absolutely true, Christopher. The CNBC did say they would be up there until February. And they're also NASA's also talking with SpaceX about sending one of their Dragon crew capsules up there to retrieve those astronauts, which would be a bad look for Boeing, but probably not as bad as if their Starliner spacecraft blew up with the astronauts in it upon return. So
yeah, let's not have any blown up stuff. Eli Lilly, by the way, just absolutely rocking here. One of the things I think you might be able to do here is if this has this type of strength for the rest of the session here, this thing could be a scalper's dream. Scalper's dream here. Maybe red candles here, weakness. If as long as that holds, maybe take some of these. Okay, Jessica Tiramisu. That is a great name. If that is actually your real name, that is absolutely fantastic. Do you know that the person the person that invented tiramisu died last week? Really, really sad. I mean, I can't believe they were still alive. But nonetheless, here, let's get to the question here. Jessica, I was just mesmerized by your name. What do you think about shorting bank stocks going into Q4? Are you saying that because you're anticipating rate cuts? What's the thesis behind this? My thought on bank stocks has been just don't touch them, because I cannot seem to figure out how to trade these things in the right direction. So I'd like to know what your thesis is. I have no thesis on bank stocks. I'm not looking at any of them. Would love to know what you're thinking on that.
Let's see here. I'm just kind of looking at some bank stocks here. I mean,
look at this. Tiramisu, best dessert ever. Jay Michael says tiramisu is one of my favorite desserts. Look, it's marvelous. It is a marvelous thing. So yeah, Jessica, I'm sorry. I am not the right person to ask here. I don't have a really strong feeling on banks. We got a lot of really good traders here in the chat. The bank stuff that we talk about, I go to our expert for, and I bring him on every Wednesday. This wouldn't be my plan, straight up, but I don't want to just kind of poo-poo it. If anyone has stuff on this, I'd love to get this to Jessica.
I really couldn't say. I actually took some Bank of America that I've been holding since 2020 off the table recently to make room for some other stuff, but that isn't really anything else I've done with banks.
Dandelions, I appreciate you trying to give our chatter here some context with options, because they have a low range. So you're saying that the way that you would trade them is using options instead of equity. Multiple day trades for banks. So you're also, it seems like you're saying short-term time horizon on those trades there. Cuts are already priced into banks. So if that's it's kind of why I wanted to ask about the thesis, Dandelions, but I really appreciate you responding to this. We can ask Tim. We can ask Tim if Jessica Tiramisu comes around on Wednesday. Yeah, we can definitely ask Tim. I'm going to go start looking for tiramisu now.
All right.
You guys are gonna get us in trouble talking about banks without Tim. That's probably true, but you know what else is? We might have a list of questions to ask him, and he just likes to go. You ask him questions. I want to have a beer with that gentleman. I'd like to sit down at a bar off the clock, have a cold one or two, and just talk stocks. That would be so much fun.
Stocks that are going sideways.
Yeah, Jessica, we could keep asking the group here. I'll try and get our expert answer so I don't give you some bunk that causes you to lose money. That's not what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, banks to me aren't really attractive. I like I'm kind of been on the utilities and consumer defensives and industrial military names. Those have been doing really well. Not sure about the banks. Haven't been covering those.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. That's the thing. If I don't know, I'm going to tell you, hey, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and give you some baloney thing that just because you asked. I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to tell you.
Oh, yeah. Banks are great.
Yeah, all in. I mean, it's just that doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help anybody. If I don't know, I'll try and find you somebody that knows. I'm not going to BS you. Mm-hmm. Lumen here. This back to its VWAP. We'll see if it can cross through this and maybe move on Lumen. The Eli Lilly move got me hot and bothered in a good way. SGMO popping here. This was a penny stock that went to dollar territory here today. ABVE, that was one that we talked about earlier. Oh my God. Guys, this was, I'm sorry. I am going to formally apologize to the group. When I covered this in the rundown before the market opened here, I said, I thought this retraced its entire move. I think this thing's probably dead. We got multiple moves up on volume through the VWAP here. Apologize if I took this off anyone's radar. For those of you that stuck with it, that's what we want to see. Good stuff. Hopefully you're banking off that. Bang, Amanda, what are you trying to do? Like, what are you trying? Banks, I'm going to read it just because you said it, but like, what on earth are you trying to do here? Banks are like the Chicago Bears of stocks. No one expects much, but they're excited for them when they get a win once in a while. So you, hang on.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get a cold-blooded drop, but also the part that you left off here is what happens when there's a generational shift and they go crazy. Just saying. Appreciate the Josh and back and forth though. Inod getting a mention. What happened on Inod? Did it curl back up? Oh, dude. So look at that. So this, I got to get this comment off the screen. Inod here moving down to the low 17. Nice little bouncer. 2.5 point move here on Inod. This one tough though, a little bit spread and a little bit of a kind of a lighter trade there.
Oh yeah, look at that Palantir coming back.
Sorry, I had to. Oh man. Amanda, you weren't around for the draft, were you? You hadn't found our community or our ecosystem yet, did you?
Oh, I hope she joins.
No, well, no, I'm talking about, you remember draft night? Joe, I think your comment was after we started, you're like, I don't even have a comment because I can't even process what's going on right now.
When was this?
This was the draft night in April, April 24th, when Bears had the first overall pick. Let me see if I can find that. I'll just go ahead and post that in here. Benzinga draft party. Here we go.
Yeah, Chris Catchy's kid was saying some pretty amazing things.
I mean, I'm going to give shout outs to everybody. Chris Catchy's kid probably stole the show.
Oh, yeah.
But Chris was great. Aaron Bree was great. Joel L. Conan was great. I mean, everyone. It was just here. For any of you that are interested in this, here's the replay. Oh, those are good times, man. I am lucky I work for such an awesome company.
I'm just trying to see what else is moving here, and it looks like things are setting up to go, but there's just the volume just isn't there with these. Like I'm looking at OGen, and that looks like it's trying to move up and away from its VWAP, but the volume isn't there. Same thing with what was I just looking at? ADMA. That one looks like it's trying to push over its VWAP. It's currently trading over at the moment, but again with the volume.
Okay. So AT, I think you're here. So help me transition here. We're going to go to this all access here, as I had mentioned to you. We are going to be back 13. If we don't see you back today here, have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
I know that this is kind of an awkward time, but I got to make sure I'm not late here. AT is going to come after me with a golf club, and I'm going to be in big trouble. We are going to go do the all access here. So real quick. Okay. You got it, AT. You just let me know. We're going to watch the all access here as Zunaid has a great conversation with Stefano, who is the CEO of Renergen, excuse me. And the news that they released recently, we'll come back to all access for Anne-Marie and Sandra. But for now, we're going to go to the to all access here. Aaron, you just give me the cue or hop on here and we'll go ahead and do that. We got plenty of charts to roll through. You ready now? You ready now? Okay. Take it away, Aaron.
Benzinga Nation, you know we love to talk to executives from publicly traded companies, and today it's a special treat because this executive, we've talked to multiple times, but he's out in South Africa doing big things and hoping to bring them to the U.S. here as well. It's my pleasure to talk to Stefano Marani, who is the CEO of Renergen. Ticker on the JSE is REN, and all access starts right now. Steph, welcome back to the show. It's the third time we're talking.
Zunaid, always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting updates on things that we've talked about. But for the folks that might just be hearing from you for the first time, give us a quick, brief overview. What is it that your company does?
So to put into context, we are the first and only onshore petroleum production right holder in South Africa. So that would be the same as saying in the United States that you're the first one that has a license to drill for natural gas and extract it, which puts us in a very favorable position. But what we produce two primary products. The first is LNG, and then the second is liquid helium. Now, liquid helium is quite an in short supply commodity, fetching an incredibly high price relative to LNG, and so overall we find ourselves in a very favorable space with some significant tailwinds behind us, both from a South African energy crisis perspective, meaning that we can sell the LNG at a much better price, but as well as being the newest producer of liquid helium. So that's, in a nutshell, what we do.
You know, they say that being first to market gives people a big advantage, but not only are you first to market, you're the only one in the market. And I'll talk about the advantages that gives you here momentarily. But let's talk about helium, because the only way that I know that it's used is on a hot air balloon if I want to go on date night. But outside of that, what is the big deal when it comes to helium, and how critical is it in the modern world that we currently live in?
Listen, aside from also making your voice squeaky, it's a pretty critical element that doesn't really get the attention that it deserves. So to begin with, this call wouldn't be taking place without helium. And the reason for that is semiconductors. You cannot manufacture a modern semiconductor without helium. Point in case, shortly after COVID, there was the second-hand car market debacle where second-hand car prices went up because new cars just didn't have the functionality. That was because of the semiconductors, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, there was a helium supply chain issue. And the world has now been through 4 major helium crises in terms of supply. There's also the CHIPS Act, which has become quite favorable, quite a favorable tailwind for us, as well as the fact that the AI revolution is heavily dependent on helium for its existence. Moving away from tech, rocket launches can't take place without helium. So no satellites, no rocket launches, absolutely nothing goes into space without helium. It is critical. Specialist welding, MRIs, you can't make an MRI machine and you can't run an MRI machine without helium. Particle accelerators, so discovering the Higgs boson, that didn't get done without helium. And there's all of these other little things like underwater breathing, blah, blah, blah. The list is endless, and they're constantly finding new uses for helium. But yeah, increasingly you're going to start to see it being used a lot more for cooling, because we've all seen and we've heard now firsthand that the new chips for AI, you produce an inordinately large amount of heat, significantly more than normal chips, and helium dissipates heat 20 times faster than air does. So there's significant energy efficiencies to be gained by using helium as the medium for cooling as opposed to normal air. So there's quite a bit that this little gas does.
I now have about 15 fun facts to talk about on my hot air balloon helium date about helium while we're up there. So I thank you for that. We mentioned about how you're not just the first, but the only onshore petroleum production. You've got the license from the South African government. What kind of advantage does that give you?
So first and foremost, having a first mover advantage means that we've done the hard yards. We've proven the reserve. We have the licenses. We built the first plant. We're starting to sell, and we're deriving revenue from the LNG. And now I'm really proud to say we're deriving revenue from the helium as well. And it's several years before any of the other fields in South Africa come online. But South Africa right now is in the midst of a massive energy crisis. And point in case, when the government comes to its regional planning with regards to how it's going to address the energy crisis, we form part of those discussions and that planning. And that is an immensely powerful situation to be in.
Yeah, that makes sense in terms of the advantage, and especially having the backing of the government. We've seen companies that excel here in the US that have done well because they've been having policies and some, permissions from the government here in the US. So I can understand that aspect of it. Let's talk about the Virginia Gas Project, because you announced that your phase 1 facility at the Virginia Gas Project has just come online after a successful testing. What is such a significant about this milestone that you've achieved?
So the first phase, just to put in context, was a proof of concept. It was a pilot plant that was funded by the United States government on the basis that helium is a critical element. So we built the first plant, and we were delayed. We have to acknowledge that we're about a year behind schedule on turning on the helium. But where we've gotten to now is that we've now finally managed to get the helium module on. We're producing liquid helium. We're putting it in our customers' tanks, and that is the proof of concept now essentially closed. And that brings us in as the catalyst into the second phase. The second phase, we've already got all of the debt funding locked up, again from the US government. Through the DFC, a $500 million loan has been approved. In addition, there's another $250 million coming from a local bank in South Africa called Standard Bank, who've also approved funding. So we've got $750 million ready and waiting. And this is the catalyst that now sees us moving on to preparing for the capital raise for phase two, which we're planning on an IPO later this year on the Nasdaq in order to raise the necessary funds as the equity contribution for phase two. So this is a very special milestone. It's also a milestone which technologically makes us one of only a handful of liquid helium plants in the world. And now South Africa is one of only 8 countries on the planet that can produce liquid helium, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, that is again, goes back to the advantage that you have being just one of 8 to be able to do that in the world. So phase one facility, proof of concept proven, you've got the funding, starting the money coming in as well. Any more insights on terms of what's next for the project? Phase two entails, you kind of mentioned how the funding and everything else comes in, but is there anything else that the viewers need to know about in terms of phase two?
Listen, phase two is a remarkably different plant. Phase one, as I said, I keep reiterating it, it's a proof of concept and it's a pilot plant. Phase two is where the real game is. So phase two is call it a 700 metric ton LNG plant per day, which by LNG standards is tiny. That's really, really small. But when you're selling the LNG at the kind of levels that we achieve in South Africa by virtue of South Africa's energy scarcity, even 700 tons becomes a very meaningful amount of LNG domestically.
Yeah.
The second thing that's important to consider is that our phase two project from a helium perspective is around 4.2 tons or about 900,000 standard cubic feet of helium per day. That is somewhere between 6 and 8% of the entire planet's helium supply, which means that it is a very meaningful helium project.
Yeah.
We've already put out guidance notes in terms of what phase two looks like. So when phase two is fully ramped up around 2027, we're talking about it generating an EBITDA somewhere in the region of about $340 million of EBITDA against a project build of between 1.1 and 1.2 billion dollars. It's a very meaningful return on a project of that size these days.
Well, speaking of ROI, you kind of mentioned it, you teased it, but I want to reconfirm that you're still planning a United States IPO later this year by 2024?
We are indeed. We're going through the motions now of finalizing all of the paperwork. We've got some interested investors lined up. Obviously, we've got the debt already wrapped up, and now it's a case of going through the motions. But yeah, as with any IPO, you need a couple of tailwinds. I think a drop in interest rates might be one of those favorable tailwinds that'll definitely help the cause. But we've got some pretty good momentum behind us, and we've got some really good bits of news coming out. So we're cautiously optimistic that we'll be traded as a ticker on the Nasdaq a little later this year.
Well, look, nothing can be easy. Nothing can be rainbows and butterflies. So let's talk about the power outages that we've seen, unfortunately, in South Africa, especially with the addition of helium that you have with the LNG that we've been talking about. What does the energy landscape look like in South Africa, given the past power outages we've dealt with as well?
So, Zaid, that's a good point. So, South Africa has had its fair set of challenges from an energy perspective. As little as 15 years ago, the country was generating somewhere in the region of between 40 to 45 gigawatts of installed capacity, and now that generation capacity is a little over 20 gigawatts. Which means that there's been a significant curtailment. You've had very large industries having relocated their operations because the power simply wasn't available. Up until only a few months ago, in your own private house, you would be curtailed with electricity. We called it load shedding. You'd be curtailed anywhere from 4 up to 11 hours per day, depending on what the needs on the grid were. So there's this significant underproduction in terms of energy in the country at the moment. But then you exacerbate that with the fact that the country's only supplier of gas domestically, Sasol, who have an operation here in the US at Lake Charles in Louisiana, Sasol is bringing in gas from Mozambique through a pipeline and delivering that gas to Johannesburg. Now, they've openly announced that by middle of 2026, they're going to be shutting off that supply of gas. And that supply of gas alone is more than 5 times our production capacity in phase 2. So you've got an energy crisis with regards to power generation not being where it should, combined with the fact that you've got an inordinate amount of natural gas coming offline. And you really do have what's being hailed in South Africa as the gas cliff. So we, while it's never nice to profit from a negative situation in the country, we do find ourselves again in an ideal position. Hence, the South African government referring to us as what's called in South Africa a SIP, or a strategic integrated project, which is the equivalent in the United States to being declared a project that's critical to US national security. So when it comes to overall planning of the country's energy landscape, we form part of those plans. So it's, we're not the silver bullet. We're not going to solve the whole country's energy problems, but we're one of the pieces that the government is going to utilize towards solving the, at least completing the larger puzzle. And that, again, it speaks volumes to where our project fits into the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I think having the backing of a government and also see as an asset is definitely something that speaks volume as well. And with energy, not just what we've been used to in terms of our daily lives, but also with AI starting to take over the world, there's more energy consumption that's going to happen, not just in the US, but all across the world. So, definitely some great things that are happening. And always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it. You've got your ticker as REN on the GSE in the US. We'll find out. Can't wait to see what that is, man.
Thank you, Zenaid. Really appreciate it. Take care.
Absolutely. You bet. And of course, viewers, we thank you for watching All Access. That was Stefano Marani, who is the CEO of Renergen. Ticker on the JSE is REN. And of course, they do plan on IPOing here in the US later this year. As always, we do these interviews for you, the viewer at home. So we thank you for watching All Access.
All right, folks. Thank you, Zunaid. Awesome All Access, folks. I was following along with you folks in the chat. Look at Emran. Emran is getting ready to roll again. How many trades have we already got on Emran? It's been a great Friday. Except for all of the Green Bay Packer love. Today has really been flawless. But it is now time to talk options, and we are going to go over to Anne-Marie, and we are going to talk about some new options plays. Please give a warm welcome for Anne-Marie Band. Anne-Marie, happy Friday. How are you today?
Happy Friday to you. Yeah, I'm all right.
All right. Good deal. We're having a pretty good day here today. This has been a tricky week, as we've kind of discussed as the group. But we've really made the best of it. And today is a pretty good day. Now, I think the last time that we were together on this show, we were setting up an SMCI trade. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, that is. So do we want to maybe kind of cover what happened there? Because that thing, I think the word you used for that was sweet.
Yes. So we are still sitting in that trade. And although it was a trade that I said, hey, listen, when it hits that zone, I want you to be able to get out of it. What happened was it fell very quickly and it's continued to fall. So let's maximize this. We're taking a look at the daily. And what we really want to see is a higher low hold for today's close. If that happens, when we come in on Monday, that butterfly by itself is going to start to expand. Now, right now, we only have about 100% return on this 520, 510, right? And so you might be saying to yourself, only 100% return. Well, yes, we're looking for more than that because we're right in the middle of that sweet spot. So when we have a triage like this, what we end up doing is separating the butterflies out when the price action shows stability. Now, if you're saying to yourself, listen, I just want to get out, look at very, very interesting what's happening with these options. They're very, very volatile. If you want to get out right now, it's moving around between 40 cents and $1.50. Put the whole thing in for $1.50, try to close it. You'll make about 200%. What I am looking for is something that gives us about 500 to 600% because we're so close to the sweet spot. And so we have to sort of sit on our hands and say, all right, I'm going to give this some room to run. And so what we're going to do is wait for the close today. We're going to leave it sitting just the way it is. Wait for the close today and then watch for Monday's break. We are in a very choppy zone. Let me show you what's going on with the broad market.
Okay.
Let's use SPY. Why are we chopping around like nobody's business today? And so TrendSpider, I've got a lot of things drawn on it so we can see, but do you see this gap area? This is a monster gap that began here and opened way down here. So this giant gap, hang on a second, I just heard a trade go off. So, okay, all right, never mind. Yes. So what we are looking for is price action to either find its way up into this area and get into the top of the next gap, or be a choke point. Now look at the last time we were here. If we look at this whole area as, say, a little bit of a range of today's price action, right, which is way down here, we can see we've spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 days dancing around this price action event. There are traders who are looking at this trend line right here, and they're saying, I'm buying the dip. There are traders that are looking at this moving average, and they're saying, I'm selling the bounce into old resistance that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days long. Price action is going to be very noisy. What I want you to think about as you're trading for the rest of the day, wait for the pullbacks into support before you decide to go long. If you just jump in because it breaks out, you're going to get punched in the face. And so just saying, especially if you have size. So that being said, that's why we're sitting sideways. That's why I'm giving SMCI a little bit of room. And the excellent thing about this is that we are sitting in a space where there are a lot of ways for this to end up becoming a very pretty payout. So my hope is by Monday, this begins to stabilize. It still doesn't get above 510, but it stabilizes and we're able to sell it for about $7, right? That puts us at about 800% profit, but it will leave us short the 510, 500, which we can also roll into a forward week higher up and still have tons of room. If you belong to the Benzinga Pro platform, we're going to be talking about this, easy for me to say, specifically today at our midday update, because we are also in this position. But it looks very, very sweet. It just takes a little bit of intestinal fortitude and a little bit of patience. If you don't want to wait for it and you just want to take the overall profit will end up being at about 35% if you just go ahead and sell this out at $1.30. Otherwise, we wait a little bit, let it settle, and we're making 500-600%.
Okay. Well, really good stuff there. I was actually going to ask you if now that we're kind of after this binary event and after this big move, if there's another trade we could maybe set up on that. And of course, you already had that prepared. So really good stuff there, Anne-Marie. I would open, of course, if you have any ideas here for today, I'd love to hear from them. I want to ask the group if they have any that they want to see. I hadn't asked earlier, so we might have to wait for a little bit. There were two stacks that I was thinking of. Someone asked about AKAM earlier, so that's
on my list.
I know. So they didn't necessarily ask for options related, but they were bringing this up. So let's talk. This is a perfect starting spot. Let's go from here.
All right, perfect. So here's what's happening. We can see that Akamai has spikes in its range every time it comes into earnings, no doubt, we see here. Now, in hindsight, here's what we can say. I know that if I trade Akamai, sorry about getting caught in my cords, feel like the guy in the blinds trying to get out there, sorry.
Okay.
What we can see because of this very obvious spike, we can see that this becomes a candidate for us putting on butterflies just about every single time it's got an earnings. So we'll put that in our back pocket. We'll think about next earnings event. As a matter of fact, I'm going to write it down. And we'll see there. So now we're looking at a post-earnings trade. The question is, how long might we want to hold this position? So let's go to the monthly and say we're just looking at next month's expiration, right? Now, we see this spike coming from the earnings event. So we sort of want to take an average. It says $12. The low is about $5. So I'm going to say, 10 on the easy side of that, maybe 8. All right. So we're looking for a move either up into this 110-ish area or a move down into 90. And we're going to say, you know what? I'm going to give you a month for that. And so here's what we have set up. I have 95. Now, why 95? Because the sweet spot is 90, right? Now, that's only $5 on the put side. And what am I doing there? I'm thinking it's going to hold 90, but at 33 cents, it's going to give us a cheap distance for $5. And it's really going to work out fairly well. Here's the reason that I'm only doing a $5 spread. As you know, Ryan, you and I have talked about this quite a bit over the times and behind the scenes. I normally like butterfly spreads to be 10 points wide. Now, you might go, Anne-Marie, this is contrary. Why have you got a 5-point spread on the butterflies? Well, number one, the average range of motion is between 5 and 12. And so I'm looking at the low end, but hoping for the high end, meaning I'm at 100. I'm thinking about 10. I'm looking at the middle strike. But if it only comes into 95 and ekes around, this one's still going to make money. Same thing on the upside. Between $5 and $10 expected move in a month, 105 to 110. It's going to cost me 53 cents, and total expenditure is going to be maybe 80 something cents, maybe 90 cents. And I still have upside for $4.10. So it's $90 for a $400 plus return if it just does the expected move. So this is something that you can say to yourself, all right, I know how she's building these. I can learn to build them for myself. And if you're part of Benzinga Pro, you can pop in and go, hey, what's your thought process with what's going on here? What are we doing? And so this kind of mechanical flow I like a lot, and it works really, really well. I'm going to take a snapshot of it.
Okay, and while you're doing that, Voodoo here is asking, is that a broken wing put, broken wing call? Yes, looks like they're broken wing on both of them.
Yes.
Because we have a little bit, so good shout there, Voodoo, good mention there. Indeed it is on both.
Yes, absolutely. Now, the question might be, why do you want to do that? One, it's well outside of the expected move. And two, the spreads up here they get so cheap, and it's because, the probability of it expiring in the money is like 4. So, you wouldn't, and the spreads are so gigantic, right? It's just not, it's not a great place to position, but it is a good post-earnings trade under a higher volatility event, and that implied volatility is, continuing to expand. I think we have some big moves coming into September and October. We might be able to put on another trade after that.
Okay. Really awesome stuff there. So it looks like another one on AKAM. Do you have another one, or do you want to take a look? Do you want to cover Meta? Let's do it. Meta was also talked about earlier today on our show. So this is all, it's like you're reading everyone's mind, Anne-Marie. Pretty cool stuff, actually.
Yeah, blind squirrel day. So we may have talked a little bit about Meta last time we were together, and I think we did the same sort of thing, put on this trade, and now folks are saying, well, wait a second, what's happening? Now, if you will recall, you'll remember that I said, hey, listen, we've got an updraft here on this line, and we have an updraft here on this line, and our moving average is up. So what we have here is a potential for a bounce to continue to the top of the range. So where are we? At the top of the range. Now, should we hold this, it's got the move up into, 530 or so. Yeah, that's what I have. I have 530. Now, it looks like this could be something that you could take outright and say, hey, I'm going to 530 to 540. Maybe you want to say, it's moving so fast. Maybe it gets there by next week. Notice how the price jumps. The question might be, why? And this teaches us a little bit about how butterflies work. The closer we are to expiration, the more sensitive an option gets to price. And the more sensitive an option gets to price, the more expensive that option usually is. And so that's why we do that. Now, you could also do it to say August 30th, and you'll see the further away it goes, even though intraday volatility and the weekly volatility might be higher, the overall premium, because it includes theta, which is time decay, it's going to get cheaper because there's more theta and more volatility built into the option that we sell. So if you haven't taken this one, this is not a bad one to take for an upside pressure event, knowing that we could have a fade, and it might be a good idea to wait until, say, Monday to take this one. And, we could get it for something like 50 cents, but it is definitely moving in the direction of trend. Let's go down to the daily. Let's say you're thinking to yourself, well, do I have a good trade here overall? And notice this is that Fibonacci. It's trying to climb the wall of worry, but there's certainly some resistance up here. And so my suspicion, based on the overall strength of the market, is that if it bounces into this area, it's going to shove forward and then immediately collapse, just like it did here in this space. So I would say, wait for it. If per happenstance you're saying to yourself, all right, well, my average true range on the month is $70. if I'm looking for a downside pressure event that's within the range, I can move $70 from here and go, let's use the lower edge of that. Let's use 55 because it's closer. You can go to that 450 ledge, and that you can see is still there for the 450, 440, 430. So that trade still holds up if you haven't taken it. A lot of time, a lot of things could happen, certainly.
Okay. Awesome stuff there on Meta, coming out hot here. What time is it? We got time for more. May I suggest one?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's take a look at Palantir. This one has had a recent move. We're right up to a key level. And it's what's perfect about this is that for our chat, we have lovers and haters of the stock in the chat. So let's come up with a move that pays us if it moves in either direction.
Okay, so I don't know if you remember this, but you and James and I were in a show together, and I said, listen, I'm not going to buy this until it comes into 20, right? And so I put a marker down at 1956, and wouldn't you know it, that stinker came in at $21.95. I had an alert set there to buy, and it just left me in the dust. This is one of those things that happens to us if we're trying to work on precision and risk. And so the one thing I will say about what's going on with Palantir is that all this volume to the upside is under, all this pricing to the upside is under diminishing volume. And so when I look at something like that, I do think to myself, hold the phone, maybe I ought to think about this chart getting a little bit choppier in the near term. So let me go to the weekly and let's do, we have time, yes. Let's do the measured move event that says, I'm going to sit in a range and then I'm going to break out of a range and move to another range. We're going to use the box and we're going to say this is a range. Now, when you draw a range out, here's something I love to do. If you've got a couple of moving averages, look at their slope. And if you start making higher lows coming into the top of your box, you are very likely to break to the north. Now, you're also likely to pull back because that's just the way markets move, right? But this was a very pretty trend line. And so, a lot of times when we're trading, we go, what do I look for? And sometimes it's just things as simple as this. Now notice, here's our box. Here's old resistance. This line was sitting right there. Here's new support. The line right there, but let's duplicate this box and then let's move it to the top and look at this. Look at the measured move right there at the top. Here's what I want you to realize. It is insane. Here's what I want you to realize. When you're looking at a weekly chart or a monthly chart or something like that, and you see a range like this, realize big money begins to accumulate in that box. And so what they want to end up doing is after they accumulate, they want to do a little bit of liquidation. And after they do that liquidation, if it comes back and it holds the old high, they're going to send it up again. And now we're looking at this move for the next top edge. Now, nothing's guaranteed, of course. We can see that I've got something like 35 as that top edge next. I don't know why I drew that 35, but I'll pretend that I had a reason there. And so the question is now, what could happen? And my thought is the following. With these moving averages so close together with the trend line here, it is likely to run to the upside. but not without pulling back to the 50% line of this range. And so I'm going to delete this so it doesn't get confusing. Let's just look at the midpoint of this box. It's right about here. And look at that. $24 looks like the next buy zone. So a lot of calculations looking at the numbers, but I'm looking at 24. And I'm saying to myself, what can you do with that? Now, here's about these option chains. They're thin and they're expensive. And so if you're thinking to yourself, I want to get involved here, it's very hard to buy the 35s and say, okay, I'm going to hold on to that, unless you're looking to yourself and you're saying, okay, right, just here lately, we've had an $8 move from the weekly perspective, but that's because we had earnings. It normally moves about $2 in a range over several weeks. The average move from week low to week high is $2. So that could mean $2 down, that's 27, to $1.50 down, which would give us our 25-ish, to $1.50 up, to $1 up, to $2 up, and so on and so forth. So if you're looking for a move, it's my impression, based on this stock, that it's better to go way into the future and buy a spread that might be able to benefit you. Now, the last time we were together, they were not pricing $40 on this formation. And so you could say, listen, I'm just going to go out and buy a call flat out. And I'm going to buy the 35 call. You could easily do that. That would give you unlimited upside. In order to pay for that, I would suggest selling a put spread, right? And the put spread I would sell would be maybe 24 to 20, which gives me a little bit of nothing if I use October. And so maybe I use December. And it still doesn't give me much of anything in the grand scheme of things, right? Maybe if you did 25-20 into December, and it could pay for the long call. Gives you a little bit of time in October. Mm-hmm. And then you can, if it bounces, anytime it bounces, you could go, you know what? I'm going to sell that call and I'm going to buy one for December. And you can rotate around those numbers particularly. But using options for a stock that's only $29 means that you really have to pay attention to where you're positioning, because these market makers that price these options, they make money charging us too much. And so we just have to keep an eye out for that.
Okay. Really, really good stuff here. We only have 3 minutes left. I'm not sure if that is enough time to do a whole nother trade here. Let me ask you, did you have any set up on Lilly by chance? Because we had a gigantic move.
You know, this is another one that moves. Until a trade from last week, I made the most money I have made on a butterfly in Eli Lilly last year. I think 3 earnings, maybe 4 earnings ago. This one, we absolutely shredded that. And it went nowhere but up and then faded right into our line in the sand as the month closed. It was truly an epic win. So one, Eli Lilly earnings, very bad on my part not to look at them. So let's put a reminder on that we do it next quarter.
Okay.
Now we have a post-earnings event, and let's take a look. Here's the range, right? Very interesting. this range, look at what happened. See how it came into about 50%?
Yep.
That's why I choose 50% for the other formation that we just looked at.
Gotcha.
So notice this moves, it looks like about 3x, maybe 2x, I don't know. Duplicate. Oh, what do you know?
Just about. Look at that.
Look at that. And so it goes. The market, listen, sometimes we overcomplicate the market with our own mental shenanigans. But
I certainly do that. That is a regular
me too.
activity for me. Okay.
I am the queen of overthinking. I just overthink so much. So here's what's happening. Where should this stop if this price action has got a halt on it? It should stop about the 50% marker. Look at where the high went. Almost right to that 50% range. So what might we think about? Well, maybe a break back into the 860 or even the midpoint of this one, and that's 835. So big move. Notice the volatility of the candlestick formations on the weekly chart. So we easily could see major gyrations. So let's take a look at the midpoint of this price action so we don't overshoot. Looks like about $75 in general, maybe $65 to $75. All right, so $65 down would be 830. Oh, what do you know? Almost right there at that halfway mark.
Sweet.
Yeah, and then $65 to the upside, that's going to break us out and over this area. So we might choose the 950-ish zone. Let's see how the pricing is. Once we get into areas like the ones we're in, where volatility is starting to creep up, it truly is the opportunity for butterflies to shine, right? Absolutely. So let's see what the pricing is. Let's do 840 to 830 to 820. That's a nickel. That's interesting. I figured it would be more expensive than that. We used was it 566 was the top? 966, 956. Okay, so we'll do 950. This one should be a little bit more expensive. To 960 to 970. All right, 13 cents on one side, $1.50 on the other. And of course, the call side is bigger because we are much closer to that number, right? We're only about $50 away from that number, and we're maybe, no, we're about the same, aren't we? Isn't that interesting? Well, because price action's been moving up so sharply, the calls have more volatility pumped into them, and look at them moving around. So I would say, put them in for 50 cents a piece. So that's $50 to $1,000 of potential upside.
Not bad risk reward there. And kudos to you because we got that done in record time.
Ta-da! Oh, yes. I did.
And here comes Zune. Look at this. I love it when plans come together like that. I love that, Zune.
I was running late too. We are good to go. And Marie, I love it. Anytime I can try to flip 50 for a 1,000, we'll see. I'm cool. So I say a band. That's what my cousin taught me. Is to say bands.
Okay, and I guess
that's right, because money, that's how money is packed at the federal, at the Treasury.
And actually, as someone that's worked in multiple banks as a teller and a banker, we also have to learn to apply those bands. But pro tip, if it's multiple, it's BANDZ. Otherwise, you're not
at your level yet.
Club.
I'm not at your level yet. I only have a band. I don't have bands on bands on bands.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for assuming. By the way, great comment here. Anne Marie's voice makes me calm.
Love it.
You know what?
Your intelligence makes you money. Your voice makes you
love that. I love what I try to do is not get people riled up. It happens nevertheless. I just want to tell you because of what comes out of my mouth.
Hey, me too.
Well, hey, Appreciate both of you guys. And again,
Thank
we'll
you so
we'll
much.
talk again on Tuesday. Anne Marie, always a pleasure. Ryan Powell, we'll see you on Monday.
Have a great one, everybody.
All right. We will continue the options actions. We go from Anne Marie to options made simple with Sandy. Sandy, give me a thumbs up whenever you're ready to go. Awesome. Good morning. I have to check to make sure it wasn't noon. How are you?
Good. Yes, it's let's see, 8:30 here. So you guys are lucky. Whenever I'm traveling in Florida, it's so nice to wake up at a normal hour and do your homework and
I
get
can't
on
imagine waking. Well, today I did wake up at 5 o'clock. I'm not gonna lie. I woke up at 5 o'clock, went for a little walk, and then I came back, started slacking people, and then I was like, "Why aren't they responding?" And I was like, "Well, it makes sense. It's 7 o'clock." So I got an early start to my day, but I'm gonna go ahead and start the show here in a minute. But you got some tickers you want to tease us with before we do?
Yeah, I think we're going to look at NVIDIA, let's see, TTO and TSM. We're going to go over our trade from last week as well.
Awesome. You got it. This is Options Trading Made Simple with Sandy.
Welcome back, traders. This is Sandra with Trading Made Simple. I'm here to show you short-term proven strategies. People think trading is a one-size-fit-all market. It's not. We live trade and train daily. Let's talk trading.
Hey guys, good morning. How are you doing today? So looking to see if you have any charts you want me to go over, but let's just take a look and start off with our weekly trade. So it looks like SPY. So this was, let's see, this was last Friday's candle. And while we were together, we were actually discussing, right, that the market had changed. It was really going down. And so really at this point, we had a gap Thursday night to Friday morning, very weak, right? And below our weekly expected move. That was very bearish. And I said, if we closed below our weekly expected move, we could see continuation of the downside. We were looking, though, for a little pop up. I was thinking that this last pivot high was going to offer some support so that we could maybe pop up to either our point of control or our high for that period. And it would still be a lower high, right? So we had a correction. And now we're trying to make our way, right, back to some bullish consolidation to see not only can we get into a range, can we get into some healthy price action to show that we are now not in the correction anymore, that the correction has ended. How do we actually know that? So with that, because you could see this last move down when we first started the correction, you could see how, we kind of went sideways for a while before we popped up, only to come right back down. Now on that Monday morning, this was Monday morning, we, by the way, did a inexpensive butterfly for a little pop-up, because with volatility in a correction, you get the same amount of volatility going up as you do down. And so with these massive swings, people are basically doing some lotto bets, and some of those really paying off tenfold. In our case, it did not. We opened up on Monday, and this is where the butterfly was at. And you could see that we never made a pop-up here, not expecting this much of a gap down. Boy, we really hit the bottom here. So now what we're doing is we're kind of making our way up slowly. Now, if we were to connect, and this is on a daily time chart, if we're going to connect a trend line, right, from our bottoms, you could see where we're at. Now, when we close today, we're still closing under our weekly point of control. And you can see how today we're actually tested that weekly point of control, but still stayed on the bottom. So this is what happens if you're using basically expected moves or your weekly point of control. Where does the market makers tend to show where we're going to be moving? And you can see that the indicators already identifying next week's weekly point of control, which is this area right here, depending on where we close today. So that's why it's always important to take a look at your weekly chart as well to see where are we closing, how does that look on a weekly chart. This, in fact, let's take a look at that while we talk about longer time frames. So you can see us here. breaking through a momentum last week, not getting to the 100 level, nice bounce back. On the weekly, we're we're right at the 20. That 20 on any time frame for me can hold as resistance or it can turn into support. We're going to have to see where we open up next week. But clearly a recovery a week after our correction. You could see how this is looking right now. And look at this, how we're reaching the 0 point of momentum, right? We're reaching it, but we're not there. And oftentimes what you'll see is this will curve right back down until we actually make a healthy correction. And that healthy correction in this case would be for momentum to come up above that 0 line and for price to come up above that 20. When that actually happens, you can actually feel some momentum coming back into the market for some buyers. But as of right now, we are at this inflection point. It typically takes between, if you didn't know this, but after we have a correction, it typically takes between 5 to 10 days to figure out if this correction is over, and we're going to start to get now some healthy price action and basing. So basically we'll have an area of consolidation, but this is not an area of consolidation. We're actually on the rise here. Are we? Of course, this is a low. This is a higher. This is a lower high, right? If we made a trend line down here, this is a lower low from the previous low, and this is still a lower high from the previous high. So we're still in a downtrending market. And so until we actually can pop up above that 20, we may get a trend change. But as of right now, if we don't pop above here, we could still come revisit, right? Well, and what will we be doing? We'll be making a double bottom down here if we come back to revisit some of these levels. And then from there, it could get constructive. So it's a really long process to be able to turn the bus around to get this thing going back to where we are. And oftentimes when we have these bounces, they're short term. And so as the implied volatility is higher, and we get those really sharp and large movements to the downside, we can get the same sharp and large movements to the upside. So really having a nice, powerful week, but don't get me wrong, we're still in a downtrend overall, okay? And you can tell, let's take a look at that weekly chart again. You could tell on that weekly chart, look at how many weeks we've been down. We really need to bounce above that 20 level and stay above it for us to then start to turn this thing around. Will that happen? I have no idea. We could end up just making a lower high here and coming back down to make a lower low. And so that's why a lot of times you're not really, you're not like marrying any type of trade here. All the trades that we're taking, it really is a lot of day trades as well as a lot of lottos. So that's what we got going on with SPY. Let's take a look at the QQQs. Boy, we were really pumping on the Qs, and now we've put the brakes on. If we look at a weekly as well, still in a downtrend, not even close, by the way, to that 20. Look at momentum on a daily. Look at that momentum coming down, breaking below. That is really some strength. You could see the last time that we came down here, by the way, we didn't break below that 100 line. And we still, we had a nice move down, and then we came up. And then now look, we're breaking below. So this looks really weak actually on a weekly for the Qs. If we look at a daily, you could see that, we come down, we consolidate, we come down, we consolidate, we come down, consolidate. Yeah, big down. And now we're kind of moving up here, but it's still a lower high, right? Still a lower high. So we need to get above that 20. If you can actually identify that, you could test it, and then you can say, hey, this works for me, or maybe it doesn't. But it's a very easy way to see where you're at in the chart, especially if you're too zoned in and focused on the smaller time frames. You may not see the bigger picture, and you really want to take a look at that because things can change just like that tomorrow. What else do we have going on here? Let's take a look at some shorter term time frames here. So wanted to take a look at an hourly. You could see that this is the weekly expected move for the Qs. Actually, within the last 4 or 5 days, staying and consolidating in this higher area. This is a nice base. I like to look at it on an hourly chart just to see what we have in store. You can see the trend lines here on this channel, but we never broke above our weekly expected move. So this will be interesting to see where we open up on Monday as well, to see where point of control is. We had some positive momentum here the last couple days, and looking to see if that continues. Right now, let's take a look as we go even on a shorter period. Looks like momentum is actually, the internals look a little neutral here on a short period. And really the Q's not doing anything right here. Let's take a look at IWM. IWM on a short term, little weak here, coming down to retest its last pivot low. And you can see that it's been just a range trading within the last pivot high and low. By the way, if you guys ever use the 5 EMA, that can also help you on recoveries, by the way, of corrections. A lot of people will look at the 5 EMA, and that 5 EMA will give you a very short picture, a short duration of time to actually identify, should you be taking some lottos to the long side until we actually can recover from this correction. And so as you're starting to think in this way, you could start looking at a short-term EMA like the 5. And if we're above that 5, we can start to consolidate and then move a little higher. And where are we wanting to move to? Above that 20 to get that trend change. It doesn't change. None of these, ideas change. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So you could just kind of see how I look at the chart and the way that I do technical analysis. It may help you. It is a very simple form of it, and it works quite well. What else do we have going on? We were looking at Tesla. We took a beautiful trade today on Tesla for a day trade. Lots of day trading lately, taking advantage of these sharp moves. Let's take a look at a 5. I like to day trade on a 5-minute chart, and really got this pop up. So this was a really nice move. I think we went to, what was that price? We bought into it at 200 calls at 50 cents, and we exited at 92 cents. So a very nice trade here on Tesla. What was the other one? We were actually looking at SCMI as a whole. I always get a little dyslexic sometimes. Got that backwards. Yeah, I even wrote it down backwards as well. So here was actually looking for this to go lower and actually started to consolidate. So we got out of this at break even. Not really. We were actually looking for this to go down. We were looking for coin as well to make a pop, but everything is just consolidating. So got out of that. And I think the other one was SPY, originally thinking that this was going to go down. We didn't think that that move yesterday was going to actually, once we broke through this trend line, thinking that we're going to stay below it. But no, we're staying below it, but we're actually just rising as we're following that trend line. So now on a 5-minute, we're above the 20. This looks good. We have some resistance ahead at 532. You could see the weekly expected move right here at 532.88. So slow and steady. You could see that momentum did break the zero line, but immediately reversed and came back up. So we'll see how that looks. What were we going to take a look at? That's right. I was going to take a look at NVIDIA today. Let's take a look at these. All right. Everything seems to be, this is actually good for the market that we're just like consolidating and going sideways. We gapped up a little bit this morning from overnight move, and we're just going sideways. So we're not losing any ground here. So this will be interesting as we start to look at this correction. And I want to keep saying that so that you recognize that we are in a correction and we still need, right, a lot of basing for us to actually turn this around, because we're just making lower highs. If we're making lower highs, we're still in a downtrend, and you need to be cognizant of that on your trades. And so let's see, for NVIDIA, I can't even see this. I might have to put my glasses on. So we were looking for 105.58. 105.58, basically this consolidation line. Let's just make it 160. If we can break above 106, excuse me, we can actually see 106.60 and then possibly make a move up here to 107. I don't know if that's going to happen today, but you could set an automated order. And you know that I do most of my trading in automation. Now, the good thing too is that we're actually not trending. And I have a label here that's just basically ADX. If you don't like to trade and shop, a secret, not a secret, but an oscillator that you could use that a lot of people don't know about is called ADX. And anything over 25 on the oscillator of ADX means that it's trending, that ticker is trending. Anything below it means that it's really not trending. And it doesn't matter if it's trending bullish or bearish, right? It just means that there's enough of an audience in there to make a difference. So right now with NVIDIA, we're not even trending on a 5-minute. What would that tell you as a day trader? Probably to to stay out or to create some sort of maybe a straddle, right? Because you don't know what direction, there's not enough power to go anywhere. So we're really looking, as we're consolidating under these bands, by the way, if you're using Darvas bands, you can use automation. Anything above the Darvas bands means that we broke through consolidation. Anything below it, right, is a bearish trade. You can do some puts and calls, and you can see we're right in the middle of the range, just kind of going nowhere. So anything above 105.58 is bullish. Anything below 104.23. So see how we're in the middle of that. And anything below 104.23. So we're actually almost to this last bottom here. Now, when we made our watch list, it was from the overnight action. And so as we look at this, I would wait until we get below even that lower. I see the consolidation bands right here, and I say anything below 103.43 now. Anything below 103, let's just say 103.40 would be a good put for today. And we might get some afternoon action. I don't know if you've noticed, but every single day that we've come in, we've had a decent sized gap. And then we do absolutely nothing in the mornings. And then we usually have some big movement in the afternoon. So keep that in mind, because, these types of, what's happened before is not a future indication, but it certainly shows you a trend, and we're trend traders. So that could help you identify, right, when there's going to be some action. TTD here. All right. So we were looking for this to break above 91.11. And as soon as we came out of the gate, we broke it. We had targets of 93.15 and 95. And you can see that's it. That trade is done. Excellent for automation is being able to see what your triggers are and then just program those triggers and let them work out while you continue your day. TSM, we were looking at TSM holding above 168.83. You can see we're not even close to that. Or below 168.83. We opened up here. Right here is our first 5-minute candle. And anything below 168.83 would have been great for puts at 164. So we haven't hit our first target. And then after 164.57, we go to 160. And so right here, look, if we can break that 164.57, we go lower to 160. You can see that's below our previous pivot low. So again, everything kind of just going sideways for now, but these are some trades that you could automate. Can we go through an automation? Since we're in the middle here, let's just do that. If I was to take a 168, let's take these these ones right here on TSM while we got a couple minutes, and let's automate the trades through Thinkorswim so you can get a hang of that. So if we go over to our trade tab as an example, and let's not take a 0 DTE for some of you that may not be able to partake in maybe a day trade. Maybe this goes for next week, right? So we could look at, let's see, TSM and say, okay, what happens if we get a little bit of bullishness here and we want to take a 168.83? I always just, as an automator, just round that up. So if I go to a call and say, I can either take the at the money call for 168. Okay, so go to 168, and what's closest to 168? 170. So I can either take that as the strike price, or which would be an at the money when it actually occurs, or I could take a strike that's my first target. And that first target is being 173. So I could take that 162.5 as an example. So now if I just right click that and I say, okay, I'm going to take that 172.5 and I'm going to, let's do buy a custom. Let's do buy a custom with an OCO. Why don't we do that? So if we go over to here, all I have to do is, can you see that? I want to make sure that you can see that second screen. Zunaid, can you help me with that? Can you see this second screen that's up? No, you don't.
I cannot. No, we only see your Thinkorswim.
Oh shoot! So let's see. How would I do that? I guess.
You may have to.
Yeah, let me change my view and see if I can do
Yeah,
that.
no worries. I will remove your. Yeah, you're good. Let me remove this just so you don't share something you don't want to, just in case. Your bank account, your $1 million, whatever the case. And
all right.
I will share my screen in the meantime to take a look at a couple of things. And whenever you're ready, you let me know and I can share it out.
Oh, that sounds good. Okay.
Are you trying to share a tab or a window?
I was trying to share a tab through Thinkorswim. Let me see.
Yeah, because it only shows your options chain at the moment.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
You're good. While you do that, I'll just kind of talk about the NQ, kind of like what I was looking at when I randomly woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You had the 18,380 level that kind of held, and you got a little bit of a bounce there. To me, a little bit of chop for the past couple of days there. It looks like you are sharing something else. Let me go to you now. Yeah, there you go. Is this what you want to share?
Yeah, let's try this. Sorry that didn't catch.
But I'm going to go in the back. If you want to switch over, just let me know. I'll be back.
Sure. So what you can do on Thinkorswim is just basically program this in. And you come right over here. You always complete the conditions first before you even take a look at this, because this is really just option pricing. But because we're going to do it with the stock price, we don't fill this in just yet. So we say TSM, we're going to keep this as mark as the default. You could see the trigger defaults to less than or equal to. So we're going to move this to the greater than or equal to. And all you got to do for backup is just look down here and you could see where it says greater to or equal to. And then down here is where you put your stock price. Now, as an automator, I always think it's important to pad my pricing because I don't want to get like triggered from a wick. So on TSM, as an example here, I'm going to say, okay, I need 168.93, or excuse me, 168.83. So what I'm going to do is just put in 168. And maybe I do it by 10 cents. Let me do just 95 as an example. So I'm just rounding up basically. And so 168.95, giving it a little bit of pad. Now I tab out of there. And as soon as I tab out, you could see that the programming, you're now a TOS programmer, you could see that it took, right? So now when I go up here, I'm saying, hey, computer, I'm actually doing this with a trigger. Get me into this call when I break the threshold of 168.95, not from an option price. So I'm just going to be an aggressive buyer and say, hey, buy the ask. This should be 00, and I'm going to say good to cancel. So now I have a contract that's out, right, for next week. And it's always perfect that we're, this really still looks bearish to me as far as the market as a whole. But you could do this on the flip side as well and create an order for next week on the put side. So you have one in for a trigger on the call side. You have one in for the trigger on the put side. And what could you use as that trigger, that weekly expected move point of control that we keep talking about? You could use that line, just, pad it 5 or 10 cents on either way, as an example for TSM being in, a decent sized stock here at 165. And then you could be ready, regardless if you're a manual trader, for both ends of this. And you could look at your weekly expected move, high as well as low, utilize those levels, or you can use some other indicator like a fib or average true range. I use average true range for profit targets. And with the TOS as an example, the platform of TOS knows what's the average true range is, and you could set those targets for your take profit. So this is a very easy way. You can also just say, hey, take profit at 20%, etc. So this is how you actually get into. Now, if I just wanted to say, hey, get me out with a 20% profit and a 20% loss, you could go right over here. Do you guys see my, do you guys see my,
Nope, not yet. You got to reshare the.
Oh
Yeah, it's
man.
all good. I think it's because you have like two different.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get better at that.
No,
Shoot.
that's okay. So far, we're doing well. You're good.
Let me see this here. How do I get there? So I'm not
So you
sharing
would
there.
present, share screen. I think it would just maybe be a window.
Yeah, it actually says share slides or video files, share screen. I got it.
There we go.
I can
It's all
program
good.
TOS, but I can't seem to work.
It's all right.
Can't seem to work.
There you go.
This. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to come right over here and you're going to say trigger. And then and when you hit trigger, this pops up. Now this little button allows you to go over to the percent. And now you can either toggle up 20%, or I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit 20%, tab out. And then I'm going to make sure this is good till cancel. And now for here, I'm going to say, the first thing I'm going to say is, okay, this is my stop order. Great. I'm going to go over to my trigger, just like I did before. That brings up these little buttons. You could do it by dollar amount, or you could do it by percentage. You can go 20. 20 works well with the ebb and flow of the market, I find. But as you automate your trades each and every week, hopefully you do a whole bunch of them so you can see which ones trigger. You'll then start to analyze, what is a good, what is a good stop limit? What is a good reward limit? And then you can start to play with those and see which one works well. For me, it's the 20% positive, 20% stop loss. And now I have my order already in. When I confirm it, you're not going to see the dialogue here, but you're not going to see the dialogue here, but you could actually read it before you send it in. Make sure that it's, hey, TSM at or above 168.95 gets me in, and it's going to sell when I have a 20% profit, or it's going to sell when I have a 20% stop loss. And then the other, whatever ends up happening, I'm in. Whatever ends up happening, the other order will just cancel itself out. And that's how you can do an OCO on TOS. It's relatively easy if you don't have to switch your screens.
Awesome. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time all the time. And I always love that you come back and you kind of update on the previous trades of, hey, here's what worked, here's what didn't, but we keep it moving and we kind of move on to, earnings season is still happening. You always have NVIDIA at the end of the month. So it should be some fun times.
Yeah. Big market mover. That's right. That could really change the landscape. So it'll be interesting to see, but we are still in a correction, still made a lower low a lower high this week.
Yeah.
So we'll see what next week brings. So, take your monies off the table, be cautious until we can actually get some basing and some normal price action. Hopefully we'll see you next week. And we'll see if TSM works. So I'm going to go ahead and program the put on this, and then we'll update you next week on which one triggered.
And I don't know if you already did this, but tell the folks where they can find you outside of just Fridays.
Yes, tradingmadesimple.org. You can locate me there. And if you want to watch a video on automation and how you can use this to make a passive trading system, tradingmadesimple.org/autopilot.
Awesome. And you're on X as well, yeah?
Yes. Thank you. Options_Sandy.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sandy. We'll talk soon.
All right. See you next Friday.
All right. Take care, chat.